With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
In Texas and back on a road course for the first time in a couple of weeks. Where else could we possibly open another new season of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck and Xfinity Series on Wednesday nights, other than potentially the most bizarre combination of NASCAR motor vehicles and racetrack? It's Circuit of the Americas, designed for Formula One racing, and it's become a NASCAR track by proxy now. What better way to open the season here in 2023 Season 2? Welcome to Round 1, the opening round of 2023 Season 2 for both the PRL NASCAR Truck Series and the PRL NASCAR Xfinity Series, live from the virtual Circuit of the Americas. Hi everybody, my name is Joey Tebbin. With me in the booth this season is Mr. Dylan Coyle, the Bagel Man himself, and behind the scenes is our producer, Arjuna Kankapati. Very interesting place to start the season, Dylan. COTA, a road course, and as we noticed in the pre-race, the only road course of the season. We're getting it out of the way early before we start to go a little bit more normal in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it is funny that we were talking about how this is a oval series, how the truck series, how the Xfinity series all work together to kind of lead that proving ground for drivers on ovals. So what better way to open than at a road course that has some of the most challenging corners in all of NASCAR racing? I love this track, but we go from here in the truck series to another place in Texas, in Dallas-Fort Worth area next week, and then a whole host of racetracks that provide some interesting and unique challenges. Worldwide Technology is obviously egg-shaped. Martinsville, it's a paperclip. Dega is Dega. Dover's a concrete jungle. And then, of course, Kansas, Darlington, North Wilkesboro, and Charlotte is the 10-race schedule.
And unfortunately, we're not going to Oxford Plains, which I think would be the closest thing to a bagel-shaped track. I think we could we can do that in the coming seasons, maybe. Get a little bit everything everywhere all at once here. But we've got no championship standings to show you, and that's because it is the start of a new season. But I can tell you that last season's champion, Reese Bogue, not here with us in the Truck Series. He's been kind of forced up into the Xfinity Series this season, so you'll see him later tonight. Second place, Alan Dice, will be here with us. He's not here this week, so it's a little bit of a power vacuum that we'll talk about once we get into qualifying here. But before we can do that, we have to thank all the people who make all of this possible here in the PRL. And first and foremost, it's Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. This coverage is also brought to you by Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceboxSimRacing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using the Precision5 coupon code. This coverage is also brought to you by The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with The Butt Kicker. And now in their second season with us, it's Mechasim Hardware. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed and check them out. And in their second season as well, it's Moradness. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And last but not least, with a fresh new logo, it's NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Of course you are. Sporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com, get started with a risk-free trading simulator, and start tracking your performance. And right on cue, it's about time to start tracking the performance of these drivers in qualifying. And Dylan, we both have our own connections to the Philadelphia area, and it's Philadelphia's own Brendan Chatley who's on pole for the moment.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Pretty exciting. I think our producer, Arjuna, is definitely loving all the Philadelphia references, considering he is on the other side of the country. But Chatley, with just around 2.5 minutes left, has a huge advantage in qualifying, a 1.5 seconds. And he was really close to being up top at the end of that practice session. He was just 0.5 seconds, less than that, off of Brett Karakov, and that could have been really, really interesting to see him maybe go for a bit of a grand slam.
Here is the aforementioned Brett Karakov in the number 57. There was only one Karakov in this series last season. It was Matt Karakov, but suddenly I'm seeing double Karakov because Brett has joined us this season. This is going to be his only lap now. With only 2 minutes left on the clock, he's going to cross the line here, and is this actually going to count for him for Regan Bogue Motorsports? Yes, it is. It's a 2:21.3 for the driver who topped practice. It's still going to be second. It's not quite going to be the pole he was hoping for. Brendan Chatley hangs on for the moment. As we take a look a little bit further back at another new name in the series, Mr. Curtis Norman. Is it going to be unlucky in the number 13? I'm not quite sure, but he's on the clock.
Hey, I hope the number 13 isn't unlucky, considering that's my Drivers' Cup Series number. We'll talk about that later, but Curtis Norman coming around the last sector. This is a very difficult set of turns here. Almost the what we like to call the stadium section, if there is one here at COTA. Now there actually is a USL Championship soccer team built right next to the amphitheater in that section. So pretty interesting. That's kind of the hub for all the fans to go to and have themselves a party in Austin. So you got to get on the brakes. And Formula One, you don't really have to brake there at all. So it's interesting to see the speed differences and the challenges that await these drivers.
One of the biggest storylines in this series this season is a combination of returning names, new names, and some drivers who are returning after being out of the PRL for a couple seasons. Mr. Baron Hilton has returned to the PRL. We've missed him for the past couple of seasons, but he's brought that Tropicana machine back here with us. The number 1 truck going to bring it to the line. Can he improve on a 2:24.4? No, he cannot. Baron Hilton's going to hang on to the last spot in the top 10 behind Oliver Goff. Richard Pruitt, a pole sitter last season at Talladega, came so close to getting his first win. How's he going to shake up on the road courses? In the Melendez Online Digital Consulting number 24, he's going to cross the line to get his first and only lap on the board. About 7.5 seconds off the pace, though. He's going to be starting basically in the middle of the field as one of the new names this season. Pierre-Luc Rioux of Quebec crosses the line. He picks up a whole 0.7 of a second. He's going to displace Baron Hilton out of the top 10.
You remember a specific athlete who has a similar last name?
Similar to Rioux?
Giroux.
Which sport is that? I assume it's hockey. I assume it's hockey.
Flyers. Come on, man.
Okay. I have to assume it's hockey. Where else are you going to see Quebecois players? But anyway, I'll learn up on my Flyers knowledge while the grid comes up here. But on pole, as I mentioned, for Whattaback and established traffic control, Brendan Chatley on return will start from the pole position alongside Mr. Brett Karakov. Chris Justice, streaming this race from his own perspective, starts third, and Patrick Cowgill coming into the season desperately looking for his first win in the PRL. Dominic Brodeur leads the French-Canadian contingent. He starts alongside yet another Whattabacker. It's Mr. Kevin McGarvey. Row 4 is Austin Hunter for Whattaback, alongside Dalton Geyer, who is higher in P8. Oliver Goff is the lead Goff in 9th, and Pierre-Luc Rioux, not a flyer, he starts 10th. Baron Hilton returns to the PRL, and Stacey Hunter drops down from the Xfinity Series to return to the trucks. They make up row number 6. Then in unlucky 13th, it's Kevin Jobin, another French-Canadian, alongside another dropper-downer, if that's a word. It's Mr. Ryan Traver bringing Ride and Shotgun Motorsports down into the Truck Series again. Nicolas Saint-Germain alongside Robert Goff, and then it's Jeremy Bailey and Richard Pruitt making up row number 9 for Bull Creek Racing. 19th, Curtis Norman. 20th, Dallas Sullivan, who came very, very close to winning the championship last season. He's going to be a championship contender this season. He's got a lot of work to do from 20th on the grid, as does 2 other championship contenders, Steve Loving and Alan Dice. Both won races last season. Both have some work to do after not qualifying here. Keith Miller starts 23rd alongside Nicholas Starling on row number 12. But the hits keep on coming because Zach Smith, alongside a returning Thomas Brendel. Colton Easterday returns with my favorite number on the grid. He starts alongside Zach Panzarella. Tamamasi starts 29th alongside Matthew Karikoff, 28 spots behind his fellow Karikoff. And then it is who else but CM Pennington, shotgun on the field in 31st. It's a very big grid of trucks here, and it's a very big grid of drivers on Zoom here. You see Austin Hunter there in the top middle. Chris Justice is there on the right middle. I believe that's one of the Goffs. I don't remember which Goff it is. And then on the bottom there's a huge game room there with a pool table. There are some incredible setups here, and some incredible signs as well. I'm pretty jealous, Dylan.
You know, I need to work on this blank white void that you can't quite see during this broadcast that's behind me, but it needs to be decorated with something, and I've got a lot of NASCAR-related flags that I need to hang up behind me to also share in that awesomeness. But this is a very quick pace lap. We're used to pace laps going around the entire oval, sometimes twice. Well, this one will start at the beginning of sector number 3, or trois, as we can give to the Quebecois natives here. It's going to be a lot of fun. This race is going to be interesting. It's probably not indicative of what we're going to see for the rest of the season. Just 10 races, though. This is still big.
Getting the road course out of the way early, and a win is still very, very important, especially when we think about the playoffs coming up at the end of the season. We think about championship points as a whole. A lot of our championship contenders starting very, very deep in the field. Remember, Dallas Sullivan, Steve Loving, Alan Dice did not get qualifying laps in, so they are going to be on overtaking mode for the entirety of this afternoon or this evening. But up front, Brendan Shatley, he'll be here with us for this whole season, and he will definitely be a championship contender on his return season to the PRL. But as we round the final corner, the only corner that has a name on this track, it's the Andretti corner, but it might as well be the Brendan Shatley corner as he takes control of the field, makes his way into the NASCAR restart zone. It's the initial start zone now, and it's another season for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series live at COTA. Brendan Shatley takes us to the green with Brett Karikoff to his outside. It's a clean and orderly start, but as we fade up into turn 1, we see drivers fan out 3-4 wide normally. Who's going to get aggressive on lap 1? Looks like most are pretty confident, but Oliver Goff peeks to the inside. Other than that, looks fairly straightforward. A little bit of argy-bargy with Robert Goff, but other than that, we're clean through turn 1.
Yeah, Goff really wanted to make a move down the inside, up into turn 1, just could not get the positioning right, and as we start to see the snake file all through the S-curves, one of the best viewing angles if you want to see just how agile sometimes these big trucks can be. It's a lot of fun, but once we get to this second sector, it's going to start to be about speed. That long straightaway is coming up, and we're going to see some good passing opportunities in just a few moments.
You saw Brett Karikoff in that purple truck in second, getting very, very aggressive up over the top of the hill, but under braking here into turn 11. This is going to be one of the best passing zones over the course of the night. Not a passing zone for the moment, as you see Austin Hunter get a little bit out of shape under braking. Another driver a little bit further back as well. This can be a pinch point at times, and we're seeing quite a few fender benders as Dallas Sullivan tries to get through Richard Pruitt.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just about, it's the first time that you really have to get on the brakes to set yourself up for a long straightaway for a lot of speed, and not all of these drivers are prepared for that. This is even going to be a more dangerous spot, turn 12, as we see everyone slow down, trying to get themselves in shape, some taking more of an inside line to take advantage of drivers going off course, off circuit. And now we're into that 13, 14, 15, 16 stadium section. A lot of fun here as a fan to watch everybody go around.
I don't want to jinx anybody, but I'm pretty amazed that through the entirety of the first 75% of this lap, we've seen no spins, we've seen no issues. It's been a very, very clean lap 1 as we ride on board here with Mr. Austin Hunter, with one of the most exciting backgrounds of anybody, courtesy of Established Traffic Control, Brendan Shatley, his teammates' company. Austin Hunter always showing up on Zoom for us, and he's having a pretty good run here. Not necessarily a driver who's always the strongest on the road courses, but he has learned very, very well. And off of the Andretti corner for the first time, he's got to the inside of Dominic Brodeur.
So you saw that we just got on the lap 2. This is a 40-minute timed race as we see a move up the inside going into turn 1. Willie Pinch, he'll give all the room in the world. They're still side by side. But 40 minutes, That's going to lead to around 16, 17, 18 laps in this race. Of course, will they have to make a pit stop? I'm sure, especially for the tires. They're going to have to. The question is, do they do an overcut or undercut or an overcut? What is the move later in this race?
That is always the question we ask when we come to these road course races, because it's very uncomfortable for a lot of these drivers. There are a very small minority of drivers in the field who are very, very experienced on road courses, let alone with road course strategy. So every time we come to a road course in this series, whether it's the traditional Mosport slot, whether it's Mid-Ohio, whether it's Watkins Glen, whether it's whatever, there's a lot of drivers who really try and figure out that strategy, and sometimes it doesn't work too well.
Starting to see a bit of a breakaway with the top four here. You see it on your screen, and you see it visually. You see it in the numbers. Chatley, Karakov, Justice, and Cowgill all breaking away from the rest of the pack. McGarvey is in the 77 and 5th. He's the closest, but really nothing you can do. There's not really going to be any full course yellows. The only way a full course yellow would be in effect is the track was effectively completely blocked off, and I don't see how that would even be an issue with iRacing. But this is a green flag to flag, green to green kind of race. You got to be consistent every single lap.
A little bit of trouble for Keith Miller, CM Pennington as well. Just trying to figure out how to get on the brakes into turn 12 there. Pennington very, very tentative as Keith Miller in the 29 tries to go around the outside. That's Colton Easterday behind them in the 9. 3 drivers, frankly, just trying to figure out COTA here. CM Pennington hangs on for the moment, but it's a 3-way battle here for 30th place, or 28th place, rather.
These drivers' fastest laps are going to be at the end of the race. Once they've gotten used to COTA, once they've put in the practice on actual race laps. I mean, CM Pennington is looking ahead as we see a driver with some unfortunate incident. I don't know if it looks like Bailey has any bit of damage, but way off pace. Oh, and the 51 into the fence. Dominic Brodeur, he was fighting for 6th.
Looks like that may have been all on his own, but with that elevation change out of turn 1, we may only be about 3 or 4 laps into this race, but the tires are definitely starting to get a little bit heated up, and I think Brodeur may have been bitten there. Catch the replay when we can, as Patrick Cowgill up the hill tries to challenge Chris Justice for 3rd. Cowgill has some road course experience of his own in the PRL. He's raced in GT3s, he's raced in MX5s. Here's what happened to Jeremy Bailey, first and foremost, out of the second to last corner.
Yeah, just a little bit on the throttle too much, and 32 does not have any damage from there. Of course, that was an incident that we did not necessarily see the first time. That is what we saw from Brodeur, just a slight kiss to that Armco barrier, and not really too much damage there. I'm sure that he'll be thinking there's some damage to the car, the truck, but looks like it's fine. That battle for the top spot, it is a little bit of separation now between 3rd and 4th and 1st and 2nd, with Chatley and Karakov starting to just battle it out within a second of each other. Justice Cowgill, they're fighting for 3rd. McGarvey's doing a good job of just staying in the battle for potentially a podium spot.
There's going to be a few of those drivers, I have to imagine, who are going to have some lonely races here, just hanging out, for example, where Kevin McGarvey is, just fighting for 5th, hoping there's some incidents up ahead, and just focusing on bringing it to the finish. Keith Miller trying to bring it to the finish, but CM Pennington has gone off at exactly the same corner. He's much deeper this time, and there is some damage to that Husingveld logo. I have to imagine there may have been some help there, and it may just have been from the number 420. This is a whole parking lot here in the stadium section. Jeremy Bailey's involved as well.
Yeah, what we'll see in the replay in just a few moments with CM Pennington just completely missed the braking zone going into turn 12 and almost T-boned drivers there and got collected with his right rear quarter panel. And not much else you can do as we see 2 pictures. One's the replay, one's live. Look at that.
Aww.
Yeah, could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. Unfortunately, CM Pennington is going to get the first consideration of the Golden Bowling Ball this season for that one. So let's see what happened to Zach Smith as well. Has Jeremy Bailey been hit twice in 2 corners? Yes, he has.
I gotta say, you just made me almost spit my Sprite out. That was funny.
Poor old Jeremy Bailey. He gets hit by Pennington once, and then if that couldn't be bad enough, gets hit by Zach Smith as well. Jeremy Bailey, he hasn't been the Golden Bowling Ball. He's been the pins.
Oh yes, he has definitely been the pins. That's a really freaking good way to go about it. I love that little metaphor you got going there.
Got to break out the bowling jokes as much as you can. Here's Patrick Cowgill, who has just made the move on Chris Justice. Patrick Cowgill always kind of representing the Ryan Newman way of sitting in front of the wheel. He tends to slouch it over. He's manhandling the wheel. It works for him pretty well. He's up in 3rd, still searching for his first win in the PRL. And through turn 12, he's already trying to pull away from Mr. Justice.
You saw that focus on Cowgill's face. We see now Justice with a fantastic backdrop right there. Like you were saying, it is really interesting to see what the situation looks like for these drivers and their sim rigs. You could see Justice is actually, it appears to be shifting with an H pattern shifter, while also, Cowgill is using it with the paddle shifter.
As we see Brendan Chatley here, that is a very Eastern Pennsylvania basement.
It totally is.
I can say that much. That looks very familiar. But when we do get the chance to go back to Chris Justice, if we drop the lower 3rd, what you'll see with Chris Justice is he has a heart rate monitor on, and he's giving us data that nobody else does.
That is absolutely awesome, man. Why is it just now that I'm joining this league?
I think you need a heart rate monitor, Dylan. We need to get that for us too.
Listen, my heart rate monitor, I think it would just tell me really things that I don't want to be seeing. My sitting down heart rate might be a little too high, as Cowgill had a little bit of a oopsie going up into turn 1. I know we're not seeing it right now, but a little bit of a wiggle under braking power. Look at this train of trucks here.
Nicholas Saint-Germain had a little bit of an oopsie as well. That's who we last saw there. Nicholas Saint-Germain actually works as an auctioneer in Quebec. That's his day job. Lots of interesting day jobs in the field here, but that truck, it's not quite going to auction. Still has a little bit of damage. It's not quite sold yet, but he has lost a good 6 or 7 positions there as he rejoins the back of the train.
It could go to the racing warehouse here in North Carolina to be sold, though, some of that sheet metal.
It definitely could. There's definitely some money in there. So if he wants to bring his business down under the border, this is a huge clonk of the curb for Matthew Karikoff and Austin Hunter. He's had his first oopsie of the day up at the top of the hill through the final part of the S's. He's been having a great run. I have a feeling that he's not going to be on his lonesome there. You're probably going to see one of those mistakes out of just about every driver in the field tonight.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. For a road course, this is going to feel a little bit like a short track once we see all the damage that these trucks have at the end of the night. I'm really interested to see how these trucks are driving compared to the Xfinity cars that we'll see a little bit later in the evening.
There's what happened to Austin Hunter. Behind his teammate Kevin McGarvey there, coming up through turns 8 and 9, final part of the S's. Right on board with them up through turn 9.
Almost a bit of a lazy spin under very low speeds and tries to get back onto the throttle and just, again, barely taps that outside barrier. Everything seems to be fine, however, through that stadium section.
See Hunter going a little bit wide there through turns 13 and 14. Something we do have to remember is the instant limit here. We think about it sometimes on road courses at short ovals like Martinsville, where you accumulate a lot of those incident points with contact, but you only get 13 incident points here before you get a drive-through, and you only get 24 before you get disqualified. Track limits at COTA are very, very strict. They're very, very restrictive. These guys are going to have to be very, very careful.
And, the other thing that we have to remember with everything having to do with track limits at COTA is every series in the real world, they police it differently. Formula One is very serious. If you remember a few years ago, Max Verstappen got a time penalty for just dipping his all 4 wheels underneath the carousel curbs. And in NASCAR, it's kind of like, well, use it as much as you can. The whole track is for you. Same in sports car racing. Well, iRacing has that blanket rule where it's like, keep all 4 tires in between the white lines.
It's another great basement there from Brett Karakoff. I don't actually know if he's related to Matt Karakoff. I have to imagine he is.
You'd have to imagine.
That would be quite the coincidence to have 2 different Karakoffs, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. Brett Karakoff has not filled out the Precision Racing League driver survey. Matt has, so you better do that after this, Brett.
You know, it's funny. If it was a Smith and another Smith, we could have that question a little bit more. But I'd be willing to bet money that they are related in some way.
Well, Dylan, you'll love this, because if we go back to 10th place for a moment as the battle rages on here, Austin Hunter of Houston, Texas, is not related to Stacy Hunter of Houston, Texas. They're different Hunters.
No, they're all in Houston.
It gets even more complicated, because once we get into the Xfinity Series, you'll be introduced to Nicholas Hunter of Houston, who is related to Austin, but Stacy's the odd one out.
Stacy is the odd one out. Okay, so okay, Hunter is a relatively common last name, but it's the fact that they're all in Houston. And 2 of them, and not 3 that... It almost makes me mad.
I think we'll actually hear from Austin and Nick's mom in the chat this evening. She usually tunes in, so she's kind of adopted Stacy in a way. There's a new member of the Hunter family. It's complicated down there. We never know what's going on, as there's quite a battle going on here for 17th. Steve Loving, a winner last season, really thinks he's going to be competitive for the championship this season, leading this whole gaggle, including Mr. Curtis Norman in your potentially lucky 13, Dylan, trying to hold off the other Karakoff himself, Matt Karakoff, but Curtis Norman getting all sorts of driftwise through the stadium section.
All sorts of driftwise. Hey, as long as it's the truck is pitched towards the angle of the corner, I don't think it matters. Just drifting looks cool. It's going to wear your tires out. You'll go a little bit slower, but hey, maybe you won't hit the barrier. That was fairly nice. They are still side by side going, oh, well, one just backed out of the corner as we went into turn 19. This is a really interesting set of corners, too, because it's a passing opportunity. Turn 20 is not really a passing opportunity, but you have to get it right to set up that run up the hill and down the front stretch.
2 more laps and we'll be at halfway in this race already. A 40-minute timed race here. New for the past couple of seasons on the PRL NASCAR side. It's a timed race, not a lap race. So whatever the last lap is, when we hit 40 minutes, that'll be the finish of the race. Some drivers may be hoping for 1 extra lap. I think quite a few are hoping that this race ends as shortly as humanly possible. So we take a look at Richard Pruitt making a little bit of a mockery of the S's, and we've got our first jumper of the season.
Goodness me, that was, he got some serious air there, and then we have another in the barrier.
Stacy Hunter.
No! Well, that's what you get for not being
Yeah, that's what you get. You're kicked out of the family, Stacy. Sorry, that's how it works. But this battle is heating up here. The 57 and the 59, Karakoff and Chatley, it all lines up here, and it's all lining up to be quite the exciting battle. Brendan Chatley maybe using up some of that tire life as we do ride on board with Richard Pruitt here. Woo! It is only the first round of the season, but he's already put himself in contention for the highest height reached of the season.
That was a yee-haw if I've ever seen one. Look at that. I don't know why it's just so funny watching a truck. All the trucks just snaking around, making the S-curve look easy, and then one just completely launches.
Here's what happened to Stacy Hunter up at the top of the hill. Same place that Austin Hunter lost it. So it's a family affair through turns 8 and 9. But that's a weird one. He made his way off of turn 9 and then lost it getting back on the throttle.
You know, that was actually after the corner that was previously lost at, because they went to the right. Stacy Hunter went to the left. It's all about how you apply that throttle. Now, a lot of people like to say that trucks are easy to drive. Sometimes at some ovals they can be easier to put down power, no matter what. When you're at a road course that has so many elevation changes, it's going to prove to be a challenge, and these drivers are definitely seeing it right now.
Well, I do have bad news for Mr. Dylan Coyle, who's very fond of drivers named Smith.
No.
Zachary Smith is the first DNF of the race. He's brought it down pit lane, and he is out of here.
Where's the 13, though? That's all that matters. The 13, Curtis, please start to climb up.
Curtis Norman currently P19, so still in the top 20, even after a few drifts. But this battle is heating up yet again. It's a tale of two halves of the track here, really, for Chatley and Karakov. I think through the first sector, Chatley is...
two basements.
Pretty much, yeah. Chatley's much quicker, but Brett Karakov through the second half of the lap, bigger basement, bigger second sector, and they're just kind of evening out.
Bigger basement, bigger second sector. And as long as you can get the traction down quicker than the other guy coming out of turn 11, then you're going to have a better run, and you're going to be able to close that gap, especially if you're within the draft. I mean, they're around 3 car lengths, 2 car lengths when they're at maximum brake power heading into turn 12. Now it's just about hitting your marks. These are not passing opportunities unless you want to force one in, unless we're on the last lap of the race and we're coming to the halfway point, and you know what that means.
Could be pit stops, could be a very easy strategy there, but I did just notice before we lost those cameras that both of them have pinball machines. I don't know how that's going to bode once they get side by side. Could we be playing a little bit of pinball between these two? It's possible as Chris Justice is looping around. No pinball for him. I think everybody's avoided hitting him as Oliver Goff gets through. But Chris Justice, maybe we have to see his heart rate. There it is. I think it's gone up a little bit.
You could see Justice not the happiest with what he just dealt with, but you could say he was still playing pinball. It just went between the two levers.
That is possible. That is entirely possible. It's starting to come down now. The heart rate, the Brady cardia is coming down just a little bit to normal levels. We'll take a look at that when we can. But first, Kevin McGarvey behind him may have gotten into a little bit of trouble. No, that is Chris Justice looping it around, and McGarvey does make it through. Well avoided for Kevin.
Yeah, a little bit again of a lazy spin, right? Where you're under around 70, 60 miles per hour, and then you just lose it getting back on the throttle. It's that hard spot where between the first and second gears, you're trying to get as much power into those rear wheels as you possibly can. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. You lose control of the truck, the car, and that's all she wrote.
And you also saw Dallas Sullivan getting into trouble there, but Ryan Traver is kicking off the pit cycle, just like you said, Dylan. Halfway in the race, 20 minutes to go. Might as well come down pit road, and Ryan Traver's going to be the first one to kick it off, and it looks like he's taking tires.
Yeah, it looks like he's taking tires. I feel like this is going to be an easy decision for every driver involved here. 4 tires and fuel, which, by the way, I hope we can get back to this lead battle because they're getting really close now, within half a second. And Karakov was able to take turn 11 a lot smoother than Chatley. This is a fun battle. Obviously, all throughout the field, we're seeing drivers battle, and I think this is what we thought would happen. We'd have 2 or 3 guys, in this case 2, with kind of like a F1.5 situation going on with McGill, or Cowgill, excuse me, where these drivers are fast on the road course. Not all of them are going to be able to contend for the win, but a lot of them are going to contend for the mid-pack. Chris Justice obviously has a ton of speed and now finds himself under attack by a Hunter.
He is being hunted by Austin Hunter. Woo-hoo. Austin moved into this series a couple of rounds late last season. He actually started doing the Xfinity series, and then he was like, you know what, I'm struggling to be competitive here. I think I need to take a little bit of a step down. I'm better in the trucks. And he was. He got a win at Daytona after the caution came out late, and he's definitely approaching this season, I think, as a championship contender, trying to maximize his points here. But maximizing his points requires getting by Chris Justice through the multi-apex second-to-last complex of this track. Austin's going to try and go to the outside. Justice defends, getting a little bit slidey. Hunter's putting the pressure on.
Yeah, some great pressure put on right there as we're heading into turn 20 of this long 3.43-mile course. It's a lot of fun to watch these drivers all fight it out. A lot of a good run right here down the front stretch, but will he stall out uphill?
Let's see, is Austin going to go for the dive here into turn 1? Not going to be able to. Justice blocks it off and brakes a little bit later, but here comes Austin Hunter with a little bit of a switchback. Not going to be able to make the move just yet, but continuing to put the pressure on. It's a little bit further back. Baron Hilton went for quite the ride through turn 1, outbraked himself just a little bit. He's going to be under pressure from Pierre-Luc Rioux. Chris Justice still trying to hang on through the S's as Austin Hunter attacks him, and there's Ryu getting a little bit out of shape himself through the S's.
Yeah, I just was going to say that Ryu definitely got out of shape there, took it a little bit too head-on, took it too straight, but now sets himself back up. And this is a good battle going on for top 10 positions between 4 cars.
Got a replay here of Brett Karakoff in second. He is digging, he is pushing, but let's see what happened to him through the second to last corner.
Yeah, so how about Major Tokyo Drift right there? That was absolutely wild, and I thought he was going to end up losing it. Did not do that, and was able to keep it going, and might have lost a 10th there, but could have been oh so bad. Not just for the chances of a win, but the chances of a battle for the top spot.
This isn't something we say often in NASCAR racing, but I think Chris Justice may have just got a slowdown. I don't know if he lost it off the corner or if he was pulling to the right, but I think he may have had a slowdown as there's Ryu losing it himself through turn 12. Good save. Gets himself back going over the apex of turn 12, but things are getting very, very slidey here. Drivers are desperately going to want to get off these tires soon.
Row for Ryu is basically what we just saw. We've got 16 minutes left, and we still have not seen pit stops from pretty much the majority of the leaders. And you think they're going to try and make it work? You think about it this way. It's, let's say it's going to be around 60 miles. I think they can make it on fuel. It's if they want the fresh tires. That is the question. Usually I like to say on an oval track, and NASCAR Cup car, for example, can take around 80, 85 miles on a single full tank of fuel. With this being approximately a 60-mile race, I think they're okay. They have 100% capacity when it comes to fuel. However, those tires are really going to start to be screaming. Yeah.
Zach Panzarella throws it off the road. Luckily, we are at a grade 1 track where there's a lot of asphalt runoff, but you can have all the asphalt runoff in the world. You're not getting those positions back if you're Zach Panzarella, though.
Yeah, there's no way here without gaining some ground, gaining some speed, and you're not automatically going to gain speed. There's nothing you can do except go into the pits and gain some temporary speed, but you're going to lose all that track position, all that time. You're racing against yourself for the most part in this race. You're racing your knowledge of the track, how well you're able to apply the brakes, how well you're able to press down on the throttle without spinning the thing. And if you're able to do that, then you've got a good shot for a good result. Obviously, the 28 has, I believe, he's got some really fresh tires, correct?
Yeah. He's the only driver in the field who's pitted right now. Nicholas Saint-Germain tries to go Richard Pruitt mode off one of the curbs. It's not going to be too difficult of a move for Ryan Traver there around the outside. He's got that move done. But Traver is on those fresh tires. How much progress can he make before everybody pits? The aforementioned Richard Pruitt is next up the road, and on that last lap, Traver was 6 seconds faster than Richard Pruitt on those fresh tires.
16 laps on, and 16 laps is the estimate for me. They're about to start lap 12. Actually, it might be more like 17, 18 laps. Oh, wait a second. Chatley almost lost it. They're side by side right now. Both Chatley and Karakoff. Karakoff easily has it.
There's the switch for the lead. Chatley finally makes a mistake, and Brett Karakoff around the outside. Can he get it stopped into turn 1, though? He's got it. He's got it on the apex, and he's got the lead over Brendan Chatley. His first race in the PRL, and Brett Karakoff leads his first lap.
Yeah, that was just completely losing it, going over the curbs in the final corner of the lap. And now it's the first time we're seeing the swap over. Will Karakoff be able to stick with Chatley, or excuse me, Chatley stick with Karakoff? I think so. It's just a matter of the mistakes. The tire wear is really ramping up, but we're not seeing any drivers really catch back up into the situation. We're going to see the replay. Look at that. Oh my goodness, almost just sent it right into the pit wall. That could have been bad.
Could have been bad. He comes back in second, though, as Dominic Brodeur, you saw there in the bottom right of your screen, got into a little bit of trouble himself, losing that spot to our vice champion last season, Alan Dice. Still struggling through turn one. He finally gets it going again. But this is a pretty solid race for Alan Dice. I do have to give him a shout-out. He's stayed out of trouble for the most part. Again, not a driver who's always the strongest on road courses, I don't think. I think he had a pretty good race at Mosport when we came there last season, but he's not necessarily a road course expert. He's trying to fight for the championship again, though, and he's trying to maximize his points here. From 21st on the grid, he's up 8 spots.
Yeah, up 8 spots, doing a really solid job here. A lot of these drivers are kind of right around where they started the race. I think that's really an example of a road course where you're seeing the true speed, the true timings of each driver. Like I said, you're racing against yourself. It's just other drivers that happen to be putting down lap times and sometimes in the way. It's all about your own fight versus the track.
There you can see the Christmas tree to the left side. Sullivan up 9 spots. His championship rival last season, Dice, up 9 spots. Saw Matt Karikoff up about a dozen spots. It really helps to not spin or crash at COTA here, especially when you don't get to qualify. All 3 of those guys, there's one running theme between the 3 of them. They've stayed out of trouble, and they've moved their way forward in the field. But we keep our eyes up front, because this battle between Chatley and Karikoff refuses to let up. And right now, if I had to guess, I would say they're both trying to go to the end, but there goes Karikoff very deep into turn 1. Here comes Chatley with the switchback.
You know, I thought Karikoff was taking a really weird line, but it really was just trying to protect that inside line. There is just 1, now 2, 3, 4 car lengths in between as they go through the S-curves, trying to set their trucks up to do some different things. Chatley had to pull out of one of the corners there to make sure he did not run over one of the sausage curbs, and that kind of got him all bent out of shape. Karikoff is starting to pull away here again in the S-curves.
Karikoff on the right there of the zoom in a fittingly purple shirt in his purple truck. Chatley on the left. Karikoff definitely, I think he is winning the basement battle right now. He's got a pinball table, a foosball table, a pool table. I think that's like, there's some kind of mat on the floor. I don't know if that's a game or if that's just a carpet, but Brett Karikoff is winning the battle of the basements right now. It looks like the game room at Carnegie Mellon University. How about that? There's the connection, but a little bit further back, Steve Loving. I'm going to keep shouting out these championship contenders from last season. He's not quite in the same journey as his other rivals are, but he's still up 6 spots. He's challenging Brodeur, but he's getting even more challenged by Nicholas Starling for the moment.
Yeah, this is a great battle going on. 3 cars separated by very little, just around a second. And you see, this is where you can't make a pass, but that switchback just happens over the top of the hill in turn 9 as they go into turn 10 down this very short straightaway that goes downhill. It widens out. Everybody funnels back in to this long straightaway, and they're just disconnected enough where I don't think they're going to be able to get side by side with the draft. It's going to have to take a late lunge into turn 12.
Loving, unfortunately, bad exit out of turn 10, out of turn 11 there, rather, and that's going to kill his run. Is Nicholas Starling going to go for a dive? No, he's not. Loving's the latest on the brakes of the 3, but they're all going to stay in formation here. Brodeur gets back on the throttle. He's had some trouble here in this section before, but for now, it's 1 by 1 by 1 as Starling tries to dive to the inside. Loving almost loops it. They all save it. But that was a triple drift, and Starling's going to get 2 for 1, or just 1 as Steve Loving hangs on.
Yeah, Brodeur definitely lost it right there. It's hard to get that throttle back on, considering that it's a little bit of, it's banking that is the opposite way, right? It's not concave. It's going the other way, and that definitely leads to some shaky moments on the throttle as he's definitely fallen back. Over a second behind the rest of the group he was running with. As we look at the 51 machine, what a wonderful scheme. I love purple machines.
There's not enough purple trucks, but the purple people eater there in the number 57 Very, very happy to see a very easily differentiable truck. Sometimes that's a struggle in some of these series. There's a lot of red and black trucks. There's a lot of white and black trucks. But when you're purple, when you're bright yellow like Colton Easterday up ahead, who they're about to lap, it's very easy to pick you out of the pack. As here comes Karakov to the inside of Colton Easterday. Colton's not going to cause much trouble. He's going to get out of the way.
Oh, no!
Karakov locks it up himself, potentially a little bit distracted by Colton Easterday. Here comes Chatley to the outside. He's going to go for a switch back into the stadium section.
Karakov in the 57 definitely lost a little bit of a bump from behind from Chatley. These drivers starting to make some mistakes with just 7 minutes to go in this race. Tire wear, it's high. These drivers are starting to feel it. There's no pressure from in behind. The only pressure they have is between themselves.
They've both kind of evened out in terms of mistakes. They've both made one big error, but it's evened out in Karakov's favor. Chatley drifting it through the multi-apex final couple of corners here. Then into the penultimate corner, down the hill. Have to make sure not to go too wide here. Don't want to get that off track. And then braking into the final corner at the Andretti, the only corner with a name on this racetrack. After a very, very crazy final sector, it's going to be Karakov hanging on, and Chatley's wide out of the final corner.
I think that Chatley just had to slow down a little bit right there. Look how big that gap is. It's over a second, almost a second and a half there.
I think he just got a little bit wide and struggled to get back on the throttle, but...
Oh, and then Karakov almost lost it coming out of 1.
Yeah, Karakov's almost doing the same thing. These guys, it's so late in the run, it's so hard to hang on to these trucks that I think for the final 3 laps of this race, it's just going to be a battle of who can make fewer mistakes as Thomas Brendel, a lap truck, gets out of the way one way or another, but he absolutely checked up Karakov there, and in a rhythm section like the S's, one mistake like that, that's going to lose you 0.6 of a second.
Oh, you're so right. You're so on the money when you call it a rhythm section, because if you mess up one of the corners, especially the first corner, it's going to destroy your timing throughout that entire section. Can you remind me something? How big was the gap between first and second the last time COTA was the track?
Last time we ran COTA was a full year ago, back when the Truck Series was the only series on Wednesday nights, and that was won by Bradley Holly to the tune of 14 seconds over Richard Regan Jr. That's come down just a little bit.
Just a tad. How about less than a second right now is the difference between Chatley and Karakov.
And Chatley's had a great run down the back straight. Hasn't been able to make the move, though. He'll wait one more lap as we look the battle for P4. Kevin McGarvey, who I mentioned was having quite a lonely race, it's suddenly become far less lonely. As he's got Dalton Geyer, who's looking to get higher. Oliver Goff is getting tough behind him. And who else but Austin Hunter, making himself known again after a mistake. He knows 4th place is possible, and what a result that would be for Austin Hunter on the road course.
Yeah, I feel like anything in the top 10 is a great result for all of these drivers, unless you're a road course ringer. And by the way, you really missed a chance to go all Eminem and say it's rough or tough or golf. You know, you could have just changed the pronunciation there. We would have had 4 rhymes in a row. I would have loved that.
I tried to go for tough, but I don't think it worked. I think it was too Goffle.
Oh my God.
That's Goffle for Ryu, too. He loses it off of turn 12.
All right, you got one.
He's had some troubles there. He's still in the top 10, though, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, not bad at all, as we see the 57 of Brett Karakov. Let me remind everyone that Karakov and Chatley, they were 1 and 2, and then they swapped in qualifying. That was in practice, the 1 and 2, and then a 1 and 2 in qualifying, 2-1, whatever you want to call it. Now in the race, they're 1 and 2. I think it's fair to say these two drivers were coming into this 40-minute run the favorites to win.
I think I definitely agree with that, and I think both of them are thinking, why is this the only road course in the schedule? Can we come back to a couple more? Can we do an all-road course truck series? I think that would be very helpful for the two of them. So here comes Oliver Goff to the inside of Kevin McGarvey through turn 1, becomes the outside down the hill. He is getting tough. It's going to be tough to go the long way around. They might just be side-by-side into the S's. I think Dalton Geyer is going to back out of that one, though. Nope, they're still side-by-side. It's very hard to go side-by-side, especially with 2 trucks through there, but they've done it.
Well, that for Goff, that was very D as a goal to try and go side by side through the S's there. You like that?
I'm lost for words.
Okay. By the way, there's only 2.5 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm lost for words about that too. This race has flown by, which doesn't often happen with these long road course races in the PRL. Austin Hunter keeps the excitement up. I don't think he intended to break that late, but one way or another, there's P6.
Yeah, last of the late breakers right there, and sometimes you just gotta lick the stamp and send it in the waning moments of this race. We've got just 2 laps to go here as Karakov and Chatley go around the stadium section as well, but we see this big run by these 3 drivers here. Got to be really heavy on the brakes, and they're doing a really good job, by the way, of staying on the brakes, racing each other fairly respectfully, but you know, it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do for the final lap as we rejoin the top 2 in this fight. Karakov, Chatley, white flag in the air. Who you got?
It all comes down to this: 3.5 more miles in Austin, Texas. Both of these drivers have been on a knife's edge. Both of them have made multiple mistakes. It all comes down to who can make the fewest here on the final lap. Karakov defends to the inside. Chatley goes for an aggressive switchback down the bottom of the hill. There's going to be some lap traffic up ahead that's going to get out of the way. Very respectful there from, I believe, Oliver Goff. But it's a great exit from Chatley through the S's for the final time.
All about rhythm here. Make sure you get it right. Chatley's doing it a lot better. Karakov lost some time from hitting the curb there. Completely messed up his rhythm. Almost gets into the back. Chatley almost sent Karakov sliding and spinning.
There was a little bit of contact there, and think about the history in the PRL here. We may not have seen Brendan Chatley for the past couple of seasons, but he is a 3-time winner in this series. He has tons of experience. Brett Karakov, a newcomer. He's never raced with these people before, and he might just be able to show them all up through turns 8 and 9. He's pulled a huge gap, under braking into turn 11 for the final time. Chatley's going to bring it down a little bit, but he needs a great exit here down the back straight.
Yeah, Chatley completely lost the plot coming through that end of the S section. Lost around half a second. Barely a draft right here, but maybe enough to get within 0.8. Oh man, that's a big gap to try and pull down in the final sector here as they get heavy on the brakes.
The clock has run out. It's a race to the checkered flag now. Brett Karakov hanging on to potentially his first win on debut, but he's got to hold it through the stadium section for one more time here. Chatley trying to extend it. Chatley trying to drift it a little bit, but Karakov hanging on to a critical gap there. There's still battles out on track yet to be resolved, though. Oliver Goff here down the back straight, trying to get revenge on Austin Hunter for that dive into turn 11. He's going to have one more shot into turn 12. Goff peeks to the inside. Hunter's later on the brakes. Nothing's going to be doing there. But through the final couple of corners, Chatley is throwing everything at this. He's wringing the neck of that truck. But Brett Karakov just needs 2 more perfect corners here. Down the hill, into the Andretti for the final time. Chatley's all out of shape, but it's not going to be enough as Brett Karakov rounds the final corner. He's a little bit wide, not wide enough, and on debut in the PRL, Brett Karakov's the winner. Brendan Chatley comes home in second. Patrick Cowgill rounds off a very, very lonely podium as poor old Chris Justice falls out of the top 10 on the final lap. Little bit of an oopsie through the stadium section.
Oh, no.
And there's the heart rate up. That's up about 20 extra than it was before, and he's still drifting it.
He looks pretty upset, pretty unhappy with himself there, and there's not much you can do when it's the end of a 40-minute race. That was a really exciting road course race. Now, can we see if the Xfinity race is going to do just what we saw here with the Craftsman trucks?
I can only hope it'll be as exciting. Here comes the rest of the field here. Quite a bit of field spread, as is kind of expected here on road courses. Dallas Sullivan comes home P9, up 11 spots from his starting position. Some drivers were definitely looking at this road course as a potential drop week, but Dallas Sullivan, he might not have to use this as his drop week. He's still got a top 10 after all of that. Ryu comes home in the final spot in the top 10 after a couple of issues himself. You can see Colton Easterday there after going a lap down, still getting his donuts out of the way in turn 1. Now we wait for the rest of the field to come by.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a battle going on between not just the burnouts, but also for the final position on the lead lap. Check this out. 3 cars under a blanket, and they're getting really close, almost running into the back.
That's Keith Miller, rather, it's Tom Amasi, rather, who's a lap down. Zach Panzarella on the lead lap. Nicholas Saint-Germain getting a little bit held up by Tom Amasi here. I think Tom is trying to get out of the way, but Saint-Germain wasn't quite aware there. The auctioneer through the final corner, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, and it's sold through the final corner for Nicholas Saint-Germain. Last spot in the lead lap, 23rd. And that's the first of the 2 codas ready as our first coda ends. That is everybody bringing it to the finish. But up front, it's a theme from last season. Reese Bogue of Regan Bogue Motorsports was the only driver to win multiple races in the Truck Series last season. Brett Karakoff kicks it off for yet another win for Regan Bogue Motorsports. Brendan Shatley put up a great fight after starting on pole. He comes home second in the first race of the season. Patrick Cowgill, a good podium for him and a championship season potentially for him. And Kevin McGarvey hangs on for the last spot in the top 4. And it's Austin Hunter in the top 5. Oliver Goff holds off Dalton Geyer. Baron Hilton, Dallas Sullivan, and Pierre-Luc Briot round out the top 10. P11 went to Chris Justice after losing it on the final lap. Then Starling, Hunter, Dice, Loving, Brodeur, Jobin, Traver, the other Karakoff, and Curtis Norman bring us down to the top 20. You can see the field spread there, down to a minute 40 off the leader. 21st went to Richard Pruitt. Panzarella and Saint-Germain were the last drivers on the lead lap. Jeremy Bailey got into some trouble himself, as did Robert Goff, Colton Easterday, Thomas Brendel, C.M. Pennington, and Tom Amasi. Keith Miller got himself a little bit of damage. He was one of the only drivers multiple laps down. And the used truck lot is only 1 truck this week. It's poor old Zachary Smith. Brought it behind the wall after getting 8 minutes of required repairs. But that rounds out the field, and if you remember who was at the head of it, it's going to be a very, very happy boy. Mr. Brett Karakoff is here with us. Debut in the PRL. It's a win on debut. I assume you were looking forward to coming to a road course in the opening round.
Yeah, when I looked at the schedule, I wasn't too upset that it was here.
So I'm very happy for your win, but I'm more interested in the basement behind. You got the pinball machine, you got the pool table, you got the foosball. I imagine this is many years in the making.
Yeah, this actually started with my grandfather. He used to own this house, and then I bought it, and he started with the pool table and the pinball machine, and we've added on.
And also, I do have to ask one final question. I know you're teammates with Matt Karakoff. There was no confirmation. You guys are related, right?
Yeah, he's my big brother.
All right, big brother. There's a lot of brothers in the PRL, so it's a good line of history there. But congrats on your first win, Brett, and we'll see if you can keep it up for the rest of the season.
Hey, I really appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Brett Karakoff winning on debut, and in second, unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit more of a disappointed driver, but Philadelphia's own Brendan Shatley gets to talk to Philadelphia's own Dylan Coyle.
Go Birds first and foremost. Second of all, do have to say that was some good racing from you, Brendan, right there. Fortunately, it didn't turn out the way you wanted. Do you think you might have had him through the S's on the last lap?
Yeah, first of all, go Birds.
There we go.
But
Amen.
yeah, I thought I was going to actually get into him exiting the S's there, and then once I didn't put the bumper to him, I just lost it there going up the hill. So that was about my shot.
It was a really tightly contested battle the entire way. Both of you guys started to suffer from tire wear. And as we go into this Xfinity race, we're going to be wondering if any drivers do decide to come into the pits. It seemed like the winning strategy, though, was to stay out.
Yeah, for sure. I think even Xfinity, if they can make it on field, they're not going to pit it. Just the tires won't make it up. So definitely staying out is probably the right call.
And last but not least, what's the dog's name?
His name is Buster. I think he was roaming around and chewing on his bone most of the race. So,
all right. Well, thanks for your time. Congrats on second place, and once again, go Birds.
Go Birds.
What a way to welcome yourself back to the PRL, Mr. Brendan Shatley. What a great race for him. We got another podium sitter here, another Whataback driver, and it's who else but Mr. Patrick Cowgill, also thankfully giving us his camera. Unfortunately, Pat, it seemed like a little bit of a lonely race for you there in third.
It was pretty comfortable, though.
Yeah, pretty comfortable indeed. Getting the road course out of the way this season, we've got 9 more weeks of more traditional competition. I know you're fighting for this championship. What are you most looking forward to over the next 9 weeks?
Darlington. That's, I think, one of my best tracks.
I'm certainly looking forward to that as well, but it's Whataback fighting for the team's championship with 2 teams here. Do you think it's going to be Speedworks Whataback getting the team's championship at the end of this season?
I think there's a possibility. Chatley's really good though, so I mean it's probably gonna be a toss up, to be honest.
All right, well, congrats on the podium this week, and we'll see if we can finally get that first win in the belt in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Patrick Cowgill, P3 here tonight. We got one more driver to talk to. It's another Whatabacker, and we're always happy to talk to Kevin McGarvey, so he gets to talk to Dylan Coyle.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, what's going on, Kevin? You know, you weren't part of the podium battle, but you were part of some battling going on for the first spot outside the podium. Was it a fun time? Code I know is difficult.
No, it was not fun at all. I am very sweaty. I'm tired, but I am very happy to finish in the top 5 because I am notoriously awful at road courses, but I spent a little more practice time this week trying to get it right.
I wouldn't say you're notoriously awful now, considering you were only 33 seconds off the lead, which, let me just say, there were a ton of drivers below you and a lot slower, so well done on the practice. Do you feel like you could maybe next time fight for a podium spot? Obviously, there's no more road courses going on this season.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a few tracks I could do pretty well in. I mean, these guys, in this league, there's not a lot of slouches in here, so, it's always tough. It's always kind of tricky, so I just try to go out there and do my best I can every week.
Seems like the best you could do was a really solid position, so best of luck the rest of the season, Kevin.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
You as well. Hey, I gotta say, Joey, go Birds.
Potentially. I'm not
potentially.
I'm not gonna be biased at all. I'm honestly not even that much of an NFL fan, so I can't be biased if I don't give any opinions here. But here's one final look at the Truck Series schedule this season. It's not identical to the Xfinity Series schedule, so make sure you get this in your mind. Take your screenshots when you need to, because the Xfinity Series schedule will look a little bit different. But next round in the Truck Series will be Texas Motor Speedway. We don't leave Texas at all. We just drive a little bit down the road to Fort Worth and the wideness of Texas Motor Speedway here in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. Going to be a crazy race in the first oval of the season. But it's the first road course of the season for the PRL NASCAR Xfinity Series. We're not done with the road course racing, and we're going to do it for a little bit longer here, as it's a 50-minute race for the stars and cars of the PRL NASCAR Xfinity Series. And unlike in the Truck Series, our champion is back. Elliott White returns to defend his title, and all of his rivals are back as well. The Truck Series champion, Reese Bogue, graduates into the series, and Terry Radford from the booth last season graduates of sorts onto the track in the series. But it's going to be a very, very exciting season here in the Xfinity Series. Does look a little bit different. Next round will be Richmond, actually, so some short track action already. Then Kentucky, Martinsville, Super Speedway at Talladega. We eventually get to Texas a little bit later on in the season, but it's just a bunch of stalwarts here as we start to sync up with the real-life NASCAR calendar, Dylan.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that both the Truck and the Xfinity Series are not running the same schedule, because you'd expect that. All these broadcasts are going to be wildly intriguing because of the different tracks, the different styles of driving, the different characters. You might have just gotten used to the truck drivers and you're excited to see them next week. We got a whole host of new drivers coming into the Xfinity Series, and of course returners that are going to just make it as interesting.
Indeed we do. Qualifying currently underway here for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I think you'll like this, Dylan. Last time we went to a road course in the Xfinity Series, it was the one road course of the season. Last season, it was at Spa, so I guess it's fitting that we are back at another F1 track here. I actually don't remember who won Spa. It was such an incredible battle between White and Acosta that I don't remember which one of them came out on top, but you have to imagine it might be one of them as we return to a Grade 1 track.
Racing at Spa in Xfinity Series cars must have been incredible.
It was pretty incredible. It was It was difficult for some drivers, but we actually had quite a good battle up front between White and Acosta.
There's a very important thing we have to talk about. A driver who is going to take this track head on and potentially finish dead last. You know who we're talking about.
We do know who we're talking about, indeed. He's bright orange. If you see a bright orange Xfinity car out there on track, you'll know who it is, especially when it's down in 20th place. But qualifying is currently underway here. Waiting to see who has been the best, who's got the best of things here in qualifying. And surprise, surprise, it's Abner Acosta up top on a road course. Finished on the podium last night, actually, in the GT3 Sprint Series at Sebring. That's where he started. Abner Acosta was a road course driver before he started taking his terror to the NASCAR Series and winning multiple championships. He's always at home when we come to these road courses every season.
See how much faster these lap times are? Over the course of 3.5 miles, the difference in lap time is around 4 seconds long. So 4 seconds, it's a lot of time in racing, and I don't think that's going to give us another lap. Actually, that might give us one more lap than the Truck Series event, which could change strategy just a tad.
Abner will get one more lap here. He's waited until the absolute dying seconds of this session, but this lap will count for him. And also, I'm reminded that, of course, it wasn't Abner or Elliott who won the Spa road course race last season in this series. It was Mr. Sean Campbell who decided to show up on the road course as always, and then pulled about 10 seconds over the field. But Sean Campbell is unfortunately busy this season, so one of the drivers who was legitimately in contention for the championship last season, not here with us this season. He's got other commitments. Who's going to fill his void? Probably Abner Acosta and Michael Diaz and Elliott White, as we see on the timing sheets.
Yeah, and I really love the fact that we're looking at almost speedway time differences for the top three over the course of 3.5 miles. That always amazes me, just how quick and how close together some drivers can be at the end of such a long track where there's rights and lefts, as we see some tire smoke coming from the right side there from Acosta. You might just have to deal with a slower lap time. That might have cost him, but we'll see what happens as he continues to go around here.
A bit of a drift through the final corner of the stadium section, but Acosta doesn't need much extra time here. As we look a little bit further back to one of the new drivers this season, Kerry Graves, joining us here in the PRL. I'm not sure if this lap is actually going to count as he brings it through the Andretti corner. Let's see what Kerry can do. Will this lap count? Yes, it will. It's going to be quite a bit off pace. I think he was struggling quite a bit there, and I think that may have actually been an outlier. So that won't count for Kerry Graves. It's good to see a new name here. Here comes Abner Acosta to the line. Can he beat a 2:17.3? Yes, he can, only by a couple of thousandths, but that's one way to dunk on the field. Just extend the gap a little bit as Bradley Holly brings it to the line and finds one spot himself. Defending COTA winner Bradley Holly, I might add, in the Truck Series. Jeff Evans brings it to fourth as well in the dying seconds of the session. But 0.091 between first and second, Dylan. That's going to bode for a very, very exciting run into turn one.
Man, I'll tell you what, I think Acosta left a lot of time on that lap as well. If he can find that consistency, I think he might be, well, number one, of course, would be the pick to win. But that was quick.
Abner Acosta on pole for the umpteenth time in the PRL. In the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series alone, it's his 27th time on pole, and he starts alongside his teammate, Michael Diaz. Richard Regan Jr., returning to this series full-time, starts third, and he starts alongside Jeff Evans in the ever-effervescent pink Miracle Flow number 51. Defending champion Elliott White, disappointing qualifying for the road course master, who came second last night in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. He starts alongside Danny Cervantes, who has joined Regenboog Motorsports this season. Daniel Knight, 7th alongside Bradley Holly. Reese Bogue moves up from the Truck Series. His first Xfinity qualifying puts him in 9th alongside Adam Zemke. And as Mark Kalin has some road course prowess of his own in 11th. And in 12th, it's Matt Gagnon. Not Gagnon, it's Gagnon. He told me that. Then Mike Knight, another Knight, starts 13th alongside Charles Sumner. Jacob Emery, his Truck Series run is a memory. He's in the Xfinity Series now alongside Mr. Nicholas Hunter, who I think that car is covered with Bradley Holly's face. We'll have to take a closer look in a minute. Thomas Sink starts on row number 9, rather, if my math is correct. No qualifying lap time for him, nor was Doug Evans. 19th, Colton Lane. 20th, Jim Westerfield. Not a lot of Whataback lap times here in qualifying. Jacob Fifield, hopefully with us here full-time this season, starts alongside a newcomer, Kerry Graves, rather. That's confusing, because behind Kerry, it's Terry, 23rd in his first run in the number 60, because he simply did not get a qualifying lap in.
Amazing!
But there is Nicholas Hunter.
Taking the Corey LaJoie face to a whole new level.
That is absolutely incredible. Is that Nicholas Hunter? I can't tell. Normally Nick's beard is a little bit bigger, I think. I don't think that is him. That might be Terry.
Would it be accurate to say if that if they hit the wall that they legitimately kissed the barrier?
I mean, we could probably say that. There's knowing Nick Hunter, knowing that his Spa race didn't go quite so well, there might be a couple of kisses here.
By the way, we do see who's in 23rd, right?
Yep, I was too busy getting tripped up over the whole Terry tongue twister that Terry Radford did not get a lap in qualifying, so it's not indicative of his pace. We don't know what's going to happen here. He does have some road course racing experience of his own in the PRL. He raced in the IRO 4s for a couple of rounds last season. But there is Mr. Terry. You're used to seeing his zoom, but as for right now, he is one of our drivers here, and I believe he told me his only goal is to not wreck, and he may have actually said his goal is to rank. I don't know how that goes.
I don't know how it went either. If you look at his practice time, and it might be indicative of what's going to happen in this race. A little 15 seconds off the lead. I do want to say put it in reverse, Terry, if he spins. So
trust me, that is in my bag. I am desperately hoping that happens. But here we go. It's the start of a new PRL NASCAR Xfinity Series season. It's on a road course, so surprise, surprise, the road course masters Acosta and Diaz start from pole. But Abner got beaten to the championship last season by his teammate Elliott White. He wants to turn that around. And for the PRL NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2023 Season 2, we are green. Very late start for Acosta. Richard Regan Jr. tries to get to the inside, but Acosta blocks all the way down to the bottom. As everybody tries to get it slowed down into turn one, it is 4 wide. A little bit of contact between Regan and Acosta, and Richard Regan Jr. takes the lead.
It was like everybody missed the apex and the exit right there, and Acosta has so much rear damage. Oh, goodness.
Tempers flaring already. Is Acosta going to get him back a little bit here through the S's? No, he's not. But that was insane. 4 wide into turn one. A little bit of argy-bargy out back. Terry Radford's up 3 spots because of that. But even after all that, everybody's pointing in the right direction as we ride our way up the S's for the first time. There is Terry in the bright orange car getting a little bit wide as Acosta tries to challenge Regan back.
I'll be honest, I thought Terry was going to send it deep in the S-curves, and I was going to be like, oh no. But nonetheless, if I'm Acosta, I'm fairly upset as there is still some pushing and shoving going on behind. You can see how much more power these Xfinity Series cars have than the truck cars when it comes to the trucks, than when they are getting on the power in these slower corners.
Into turn 12 for the first time. Acosta a little bit too far back to think about a dive. But with the checkups further back, Bradley Holly's taking advantage, tries to get to the outside of Reese Bogue. Nothing's going to be happening there. A little bit further back, there's Mike Knight diving it to the inside of Matt Gagnon. Side-by-side into the stadium section is resolved quickly as it's side-by-side between Acosta and Diaz, the two teammates.
Oh boy, this is getting feisty, and we still are just on lap number 1. Now, if we do the math a little bit here, with it being 50 minutes, we're looking at around 21, 22 laps. And if you multiply that out, hold on, let me do some math real quick.
Okay, we can't let commentators do math. That's not allowed.
It's allowed. I think they can just barely. If they went 2-3 laps more, I think they would be at the end of their fuel tank, but I think they can just barely make it. If they go 21 laps, they're going to go around 73 miles.
And last season, the meta was that everybody did make a pit stop except for Dominic Olivier. But Dominic Olivier only made it to the finish because he jumped the bus stop at Spa on the last lap. He would have run out of fuel either way. As we take another look at all that calamity into turn 1, 4 wide, a little bit of a shove from Richard Regan Jr. That's what we come to expect at COTA Turn 1.
Okay, so here's a thought, by the way, continuing what I was just saying as we see that replay of all the Calamity almost getting sent right down into pit wall.
Bam.
I mean, yeah, that's a heavy hit right there, and unfortunately for him, that's going to lead to damage that stays with Acosta for the rest of the race. Here's the thought. 50 minutes.
Here's a dive for P1. Acosta to the inside to turn 11. Acosta's revenge. It's done.
Switchback, though.
Acosta gets the lead back. Regan's going to try and go for the switchback here. But when you're trying to hold back the tire wizard Abner Acosta, that is a very, very difficult battle. Regan trying to go oval style a little bit, trying to steal a little bit of the side draft, but Acosta is clear of him. He's going to defend to the inside, coming down into turn 12. Can Regan break late and make it around the outside? Michael Diaz thinks about getting to the inside of Regan instead, but here comes Richard. Acosta loses it, and Regan's got the lead back.
Yeah, I thought that if Diaz was any closer, Diaz would have just cleared Regan out by accident, but nonetheless, Acosta, he's seeing red.
I think he's actually seeing orange, if we're going to be exact.
All right, okay.
I think he is seeing both here, as Thomas Sink is in the middle of a whole bunch of stuff here. Here's Nicholas Hunter. I'm still trying to determine whose face that is, but right now I'm too distracted by Thomas Sink locking it up. He gets to the inside of Jacob Emery. Nicholas Hunter's going to try and make the pain even worse for Emery around the outside here. The 109 versus the 20, and Nick Hunter's going to win out with those neon yellow wheels.
I'm trying to remember if years ago when I was racing the series on RaceSpot and broadcasting it, I think I put either Arjuna or Lorenzo's face on the car, on the hood. I forgot who. No, Hugo. Maybe it was Hugo.
Well, last night in the GT3 Sprint Series, surprisingly, against my will, there's a Joey Tebbin fan club team now with Ted Lodick and Nick McLaughlin. I think I need some royalties for that. If I had a lawyer, I think I would have to clear that with them, but
maybe.
I think we need a Dylan Coyle fan club team in this series. We've got to even it out somehow.
No, we don't. Trust me. We don't need a Dylan Coyle fan club. Actually, you know what? Lorenzo is the founding member.
I'd be very happy to see Lorenzo in this series. Give Terry somebody to compete with out back there. But Jeff Evans learning the road course ropes himself here. He's become a very strong road course driver in his own right, competing in the M-Tech Championship with Precision Racing Esports with his co-driver Bradley Holly right behind. And it's going to be a Whataback civil war here for one of the last spots in the top 10, the battle for 7th. As we ride on board with Bradley Holly here, his Star Wars memorabilia ever present. And Acosta's taking the lead back into 12.
Yeah, switch for the lead. It was a mirror of what happened last lap. Let's see if the pass back is going to happen again for Regan on Acosta. Not as close this time to Acosta, but maybe a little better of an apex there. Really slowing down was Acosta. Acosta, at the end of turn 12, lost it last lap. No such thing this lap. And by the way, what I was going to mention was that this race being 10 minutes longer is going to lead to that tire wear becoming more of an issue than we saw in the truck race. And we saw that was a huge issue at the end of the truck race for the leaders. Does that force them to go into the pits?
Maybe, but you're going to be introduced this season to the tire wizard Abner Acosta Dillon. That's what we've known him as for so many seasons. That is where he excels on the ovals, and that's where he excels on the road courses as well. There are a few drivers better at saving tires than Acosta. Unfortunately for him, though, he's kind of met his match because fourth-placed Elliott White, especially last season, has kind of found a way to match the tire wizard. So he may be 1.6 seconds behind right now. He may have a couple of overtakes to do, but Abner is still going to be looking in the rearview mirrors to see the bright pink car who beat him to the championship last season.
Look at this, a potential switchback. Again, we're watching from Elliott White's perspective. Regan went a little bit, Acosta went a little bit deep. Regan decided to just lay off there as they start through the S's. You have to wonder this. Is that damage that Acosta has in the rear, is that leading to a little bit of rear roll and some looseness that we've seen through Abner Acosta so far in the early stages of this race?
And my other question would be, if you look at the nose of that number 56 Supra for Richard Regan Jr., it's knocked in a little bit as well. So as the damage ended up evening itself out, I think it may just have. If it was evened out, though, it's far uneven now, because up over turn 9, Richard Regan Jr. gets a huge moment of oversteer.
Yeah.
Through turn 11, he's recovered it, though, but he might be hurting in a straight line here as we get to the back straight.
And Regan might be also hurting Michael Diaz's run as well, especially through those rhythm sections.
It's our first Terry replay.
Oh, no. Terry!
The quarter goes left.
Okay, that wasn't that bad.
That wasn't that bad. He recovered it. He got it done.
Did.
Luckily, there's plenty of area there. It's a very wide corner, so Terry did recover that one. We ride on board Mark Kalin's house, rather, as we see him from the outside perspective, trying to hold off Mr. Adam Zemke again for the final spot in the top 10. Got Coors Light bumper behind. It looks just as it did last season. No new additions to the Mark Kalin background this season, but still got to hold off Adam Zemke.
I wonder if that gate that he has up is to keep any of the, Tony the Tiger away from those Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
That might be possible. There is an animal of sorts in Mark Kalin's house. I don't remember if he has a cat or a dog. I probably should. As Doug Evans has gone around into the Armco, coming through turns 8 and 9 up the hill. Trouble for Doug. He's going to be actually the first driver of anybody, I believe, who's actually made contact with the wall. Everybody else has missed out. It's actually through the stadium section there. Did he actually make contact with the wall there? I don't think he did.
Did Ross Chastain make contact with Kevin Harvick?
Well, okay, there's a little bit of a bump, potentially.
That looks like, from the hood camera, it kind of looked like the Hulk colors, purple and green.
I mean, yeah, that's why I'm always happy that Doug Evans is in the field, because he's so easy to pick out of the pack. The Hulk colors, you can't confuse him with anybody.
Absolutely cannot at all, as we see right on board with Michael Diaz. He's chopping at the bits at Regan, and oh goodness, Richard Regan is about to be swallowed up, I think.
Here comes Diaz up over turn 9. Acosta was able to make the move on Regan into turn 11 here. Can Diaz, Acosta's teammate, repeat it? Looks like he's a little bit too far back, or is he at the last second? At the last second, dives to the inside. It's going to be a little bit too hard, though, as Richard Regan Jr. goes for the switchback. Too late in the brakes for Diaz. They're going to be side by side down the back straight.
You know who's loving this? Abner Acosta.
Yep.
This is going to rage on for a little bit, I think. But Diaz, to me, has the faster car right now. He's not clear. He thought he hesitated right there. That's going to leave the door open just a little bit. But he's going to have the inside track at this turn that's almost around 120 degrees to the right. But sliding his way through is Regan. I think finally this is where the difference in speed is going to show. Blocking off the inside is Michael Diaz, and he's going to start to sail.
And you know who else is very, very happy about that battle?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Elliott White on the scene suddenly, had a little bit of a gap, and now he has a Richard Regan Jr. in front of him for the taking. The second he gets by here, it's a Precision Racing Esports 1, 2, 3. He's got some work to do, though. Regan definitely feeling the pressure here, getting a little bit of a drift through turn 19. The Pink Panther is coming.
Pink Panther, of course, and all pink, trying to see exactly how that pink matches with the PRL logo, but hey, it's all good.
Elliott White, like I said, coming off a podium himself last night in the GT3 Sprint Series, was just about one corner away from the win. He tried to send a dive into the final corner at Sebring, tried to do something, wasn't quite enough for him there, so he came home with a second. But he's another driver who is defending 2 championships in the PRL this season. Won the GT3 Sprint title last season, won the Xfinity Series title last season. It's almost unfair. You give a guy like this a road course race, of course he's going to score as many points as possible.
Give a mouse a cookie, and then you lead to some road course ringing.
Something like that.
Isn't that how the book goes?
I think so. I haven't read it in a couple of years, but that fits my memory.
I read it every once in a while just to remember that I can read.
Yep. Sometimes it is very, very hard, especially when we've got drivers who have mis-uploaded their paints like Mark Kalin. Sometimes that's difficult to read, but Reese Bogue has done a beautiful job with translating the Truck Series paint scheme onto this Xfinity car. I'm still getting used to this because I'm so used to seeing Reese Bogue in the Truck Series. It's like an out-of-body experience seeing him in another car, and it's especially strange seeing him fight with the stalwart of this upper series, Bradley Holly, into turn 12.
It's getting a little drift heavy right there. It's also really annoying seeing the 4 on there when it's also the 8 in our standings.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers doing some weird things with numbers here. I think we'll have that resolved for next week. We'll figure that out. But Reese Bogue made his PRL debut last season after spending so long as Richard Regan Jr.'s spotter in this series. He finally said, you know what, I want to have a go myself. He won the championship at the first time of asking. But right now he's got a whole nother task on his hands because he's not holding off an inexperienced field of Truck Series drivers. He's holding off the winningest driver in the PRL right now, Bradley Holly.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it.
116 wins.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares about Bradley Holly having tons of championships on Wednesday nights? Don't worry about it. You're just trying to hold them off.
But if we do remember last season, it was the first time ever on Wednesday nights in the PRL. For as long as the PRL has been going, Bradley Holly has won a race in every single season on Wednesday nights, except for last season. The streak was broken. He told us many times he didn't really care about the streak. He's just here to have fun. He's here to do as best as he can, but I have a feeling he wants to get that streak going again this season.
It's got to be gnawing on him, right? Like, once you get that win again, you're going to all of a sudden think, yeah, maybe this feeling was something I really missed, and then it comes right back to you that you want to keep winning. Yeah, it's fun, but it's also really sweet to get the dub.
We'll definitely see Brad on some of the ovals this season, just desperately trying to get that win back here. Elliott White still desperately trying to get by Richard Regan Jr., still relatively early in the run here. It's only been about 15 minutes here, still quite a while to go in the race, but lap times are falling off just a little bit. Elliott White's fastest lap, a 2:18.6. Last lap for him, a 2:19.4. So we definitely are starting to see a little bit of that tire fall off, just like we did in the trucks.
I think we're going to see that fall off even more. I mean, we're still 10 minutes away from being at the halfway point, and they're already starting to fall off. We got a replay here.
Westerfield?
Yeah, just a little too heavy on the brakes, and then spins it around and around and around.
Just wanted to make one extra corner there. You got it around there eventually. As Matt Gagnon has made the move on Mark Kalin. Let's see if Mark can fight it.
Oh no!
Mark hits the back of Matt Gagnon coming under braking. Waited a little bit too long to switch to the inside. Eventually, Gagnon does hang on and hangs on to the position, and Adam Zemke's going to get a free one.
Gagnon has no rear anything. It's just the roll cage back there right now. That is a unfortunate looking, and I'm sure it's an unfortunate feeling race car right now.
And we'll start to see where he can get that back. But Mark Kalin made a mistake, I think, up over the top of turn 9. Gagnon tries to go around the outside, then ends up doing a little bit of a switchback on Kalin, and then, well, once we get to the end of this back straight, you're going to see exactly what happened.
Yeah, 3 cars under a blanket, and you got to remember, and this is something that's even more pronounced in open wheel cars, when you're trying to put on the brakes at the end of a long straightaway, it doesn't matter what car you're in, you have to worry about the lack of downforce when you're following a car, right? So cars race, they are based upon the air being undisturbed in front as Gagnon goes way wide in turn 1 and gets past. The way the air works, it needs to be undisturbed for the cars, the shape of the car, bodies to really apply all the downforce that it needs to apply. When you are behind someone, there's no air, right? Or there's less there's no undisturbed air. So all of a sudden, that downforce that you use to start the trajectory of the braking is gone. You have to account for that and brake sometimes a little bit earlier or a little bit harder. Didn't seem like that happened there.
A little bit more Reese-Bogue time here as Bradley Holly gets a little bit out of shape off of turn 11. He's still drifting it, trying to get on the throttle down the back straight.
Man, it's pretty wild. Gagnon is, by the way, losing a lot more spots. I'm just watching him real quick, but this is a great battle going on right here between all of these drivers who are not necessarily fighting for the lead, of course, but they are fighting for potentially the chance to go after the top 5 position. They're 5 seconds behind 5th place, so we catch a replay here. I think this is of Gagnon going well wide. That car is so ill-handling, it's not even funny right now.
Yeah, the rear bumper's gone. Going to be heavy damage to the right side after contact with the Armco. I almost wonder if the move for Gagnon would be to bring it down pit lane right now, get that damage repaired, put some fresh tires on, and just try and recover to the end of the race.
That might be the best way to go. Look at these 4 cars under a blanket. We're still following alongside, and for good reason. This battle, as you see, the 17 goes way off track right there, and a little bit loose is Holly. He's going to potentially lose a position as they're side-by-side. He's going to have the inside line between he and Jeff Evans, but, yeah, Holly's just going to let him go.
Yeah, Evans a little bit later on the brakes. He's going to get the car stopped, and now Jeff looks forward to see if he can be the one who gets by Reese-Bogue. A little bit of a teammate switch there. Holly was definitely struggling with those rear tires. Jeff Evans maybe a little bit more conservative for the 20 minutes of this race. And speak of the devil, right as I say that, Matt Gagnon has listened to my advice, and he's brought it down pit lane.
Well, of course he's listening. Are you talking to him a little bit when I'm talking?
I actually am Matt Gagnon.
Okay, I didn't expect you to say that.
You couldn't tell, though. I really hid my anger when Mark Kalin punted me there, but it is true.
I just can't wait to see the leaders try to get around Mr. Radford here very soon.
Well, hopefully Terry doesn't join a tradition of rookies in the PRL, sometimes causing a little bit of trouble in lap traffic. Generally, the experienced drivers are very, very good at getting out of the way, but there are occasions where there's a new driver in the field. Yeah, that's Terry. That's Terry. That's Terry going around, Dylan. Are we bullying him? Are we bullying him right now?
He's going to rewatch this broadcast, and we're going to get very angry hate mail.
That is possible. Michael Diaz here, actually making up a little bit of ground on Abner Acosta, so he's keeping him company. He's keeping him honest. Michael Diaz, of course, is another driver who is very, 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 very acclimated to the road courses. He had some good runs in the ovals last season to his own right, but he is very much a road course driver. Wins in GT3, wins in open wheel competition in F3. He was the GT4 champion a couple of seasons ago, but he said, you know what, I want to try some NASCAR stuff this season and last season, and he did pretty well for his own right. He's going to try and fight for a championship this season. Take a look a little bit further back once again at the Bogue, Evans, Holly, and Nightfest. They got to get around Kerry Graves first and foremost, though, and Kerry does eventually get out of the way after checking Bogue up a little bit.
I can't lie, watching a little bit of Kerry Graves, he's been really struggling to keep that car straight, even with drivers around. Radford is in the thick of things and holding up some of these drivers, and one of those drivers that have been held up was Richard Regan.
Oh, dearie me, as Bogue tries to hang off Jeff Evans here. Richard Regan Jr. has definitely lost quite a bit of lap time, but here comes Jeff Evans down the hill. I think those tires are saved pretty well here as he's putting the pressure on Reese-Bogue here for P6. Through the S's, though, Bogue has recovered the rhythm and the rhyme. Evans still trying to fight back.
Trying to fight back, and a little bit loose, getting into the uphill section, the highest point of this track. Can you believe sometimes, if you're right here, this high up, you can see so much of the backstretch, but then it just disappears because it's a 3.5-mile track.
And Richard Regan Jr., he's lost third to Elliott White now, gets a huge drift out of turn 11, and it is a Precision Racing Esports 1, 2, 3. Yeah, in the background, you just saw the last bit of it. Jeff Evans to the inside of Reese-Bogue finally, but Bogue's got to run off the corner. They're going to be side by side down the back straight. And Bradley Holly looks to a 2-car wide bubble of air and hopes there's a little bit of drama here into turn 12. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Evans on the inside, Bogue on the outside. Bogue is a little bit later, but Evans is still there. And the tentativeness on turn in means Jeff Evans gets the move, but he slides, and Bogue's still there.
Man, great job by both drivers to keep it side by side. Bradley Holly looking to take advantage and almost got into an absolute sandwich right there as Jeff Evans lost the back end of the car, and Holly locks up the left front tires. This is... You know how DW would say they're racing good, even though they're racing bad? They're racing good.
I think if we call up Kevin Schwantz, who designed this track and designed that stadium section, if we sent that footage to him, he would be like, yep, that's why I made the stadium section like that. That's what we want to see.
We like what we're seeing.
We do like what we're seeing. The switchbacks. This place was not designed for stock car racing. We know that for sure. It was designed for Formula One and Formula One only. But sort of by accident, with the shift towards road course racing for NASCAR, we have found a very, very interesting facility for these cars. And
yeah,
that truck race was exciting enough, and these Xfinity cars, they're putting on a good show too.
I think there is a second part to that where Circuit of the Americas, I mean, in 2016, I went to the Formula One race when I was 18 here, and I got the tickets off Groupon for like $40 a ticket for Sunday general admission. Can you imagine that at that point, Circuit of the Americas was struggling financially, and they were losing dates. They were losing the WEC. Good job, Terry. They were losing a lot of things. The rain didn't help during one of the F1 races, I think in 2017, maybe 2018. And then all of a sudden, NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One started gaining popularity in the United States due to Drive to Survive, and now Circuit of the Americas, it's kind of thriving.
It is, and if you go to Groupon to get a ticket for Las Vegas, you can get it at the cheap price of $3,000 as Jeff Evans.
I look, don't worry.
All out of shape into turn 11, and that's going to be all of those spots he gained gone in the space of one lap.
So, a little off topic here when we're talking about F1 in Vegas, but I actually was looking just because I was curious. And, you can do some payment plans. You just need to put an initial deposit down of like 33% for a package.
Yeah, I'll do $10 per month and pay for it over the course of 20 years.
I would like that. They said that the best we can do is like a deposit of like, goodness, $2,600 and $600 for the next 7 months.
A little bit of an incident here into turn 12 for Michael Diaz. Not much of an incident, just a little bit of a trip over himself here. Maybe a little bit too late in the brakes, trying to catch his teammate. But suddenly, if Abner's looking at his relative, he's just a little bit more comfortable now. He's got a little bit more of a cushion.
Man, I trip over myself all the time, especially in words.
Yeah, we've been doing it all night. Michael Diaz only made one mistake.
That's true. That is absolutely true. So, do you think we're going to see any pit stops happening for the leaders?
My guess would be yes, just because I have the evidence from Spa last season that nobody could make it on fuel. But also I'm thinking about the differences between COTA and Spa. There's a couple of extra slow sectors of this track than there were at Spa. There's fewer extremely long straights other than the back straight. But I have to imagine there's going to be a required pit stop. I can't imagine maybe somebody tries to make it, but I think it's going to be very, very tentative. It's going to be very, very difficult.
I guess my question kind of comes down to what were the lap times at Spa like?
Well, Spa's about a mile or half a mile longer. I think lap times were about 2:30. So there's some weird math there, but right now I'm thinking Abner Acosta currently is running 3 seconds a lap slower than he was at the start of the race. That's how much the pace has dropped off. If he were to pit for tires, he would be on pit lane for about 42 seconds. There's only 10 laps left in the race, so the math doesn't really add up there, but if you're somebody at the back of the field, it may be the move to take some fresh tires like we saw Ryan Traver do in the trucks.
So, with Spa being 4.3 miles, just underneath 4.3 miles long, it's a little bit over 4.3 miles in length. And if they were hitting lap times of 2.5 minutes at a 50-minute rate, that's 20 laps, that's 86 miles. So that is just past the limit, and that's at the low end of being able to make it on a full tank of fuel. Here, I think they can make it, because I think they're traveling around 13 fewer miles, give or take.
Professor Coyle here doing math on the fly. I can't do that. Ewan O'Leary was doing that a little bit.
Was he?
Cam Roger was doing that on the Ivor broadcast a couple of days ago. It is just, there's a reason I'm not an engineer anymore. I can't do that.
Oh, were you an engineer, eh?
I did that for 2 semesters. That's what I thought I wanted to do. I thought that's the avenue I was going to get into motorsports, and then I realized you have to do math to be an engineer. And then they started breaking out triangles and stuff, and
yeah,
that's too hard.
Yeah, once they brought out the triangles, I was just like, nah.
Like, you ride through Calculus 1 and the stuff you learn in high school, and then you get to Calculus 2, and there's triangles. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to triangulate anything. The only thing I want to triangulate right now is that battle for second, or this battle for P6. Reese Bogue and Bradley Holly ramping over each other for a moment. Holly's trying to phase his way through Reese Bogue. He's trying to do particle physics here.
Hey, speaking about particle physics and all that, let's talk about the physics of this racetrack, because what do you see right now at this section of the track?
Cloud cover. It's getting cooler.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that means the grip levels are going to go up. That's going to help with tire wear.
I do wonder for some of these drivers if it might be a little bit too late, if they've already gone a little bit too far on the tire wear. Holly is going for some big drifts up over the top of the hill. Daniel Knight's trying to switch it back, but Holly does hang on. He's been drifting for the past 10 minutes, though.
And then they should come into a little bit of sunshine over at this part of the section. But, oh, look at that.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a little naughty.
That was a little bit of a shove from Bradley Holly, a little bit too late in the brakes, and Reese Bogue acted as his brake for a moment, and that's going to make Daniel Knight very happy. Bogue's trying to clear him. Bogue's trying to clear him, but he was not clear of Daniel Knight there.
I'm uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable too. Knight's going to stay to the inside here, under braking into turn 12. Will there be contact again? There's another lockup from Bradley Holly, who was just made chewing gum out of the tires. Daniel Knight has a bonk, and Reese Bogue goes on through.
Told you I was uncomfortable.
That was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, those drivers. Oh my goodness, how are they going to survive over almost 20 minutes of racing action?
Those Bradley Holly tires are going to go supernova. He's locking it up at just about every corner. He was drifting for the last 15 minutes. I hope the Goodyear technicians are here, as Richard Regan Jr. has brought it down pit lane.
Yeah, Regan had been locking it up a lot lately and just couldn't do much about it. By the way, I'm not sure if you have driver audio on, but our good buddy almost caused an incident with Mike Knight and apologized over the radio.
Oh dear. Terry is, you gotta represent Race Spot here, Terry. You gotta represent Race Spot, as here comes Reese Bogue, Knight, and Holly coming by Richard Regan Jr., so has Regan made the right decision to pit here? He's going to fall to 9th, and yeah, just 9th. Adam Zemke's a little bit too far back for anything worse than that. There's 8 laps left in the race. Richard Regan Jr. will find some pace here. I don't know if he's going to be able to drive up to 3rd, but I think he was just sick of running around in 4th with those destroyed tires, and he said, you know what, I'm going to go off strategy here.
Yeah, sometimes you need to just try it, right? Like, if you don't feel good in the car, if you don't feel comfortable in the car, then it's not a good idea to keep running with a car that is just uncomfortable feeling. You want to try and do something different. And even if you lose a few spots, well, it gives you a challenge to gain them back. And maybe something happens where all of a sudden the other drivers go into the pits, and then he just gained a lot of time based on the undercut. Look at this. That's heavy blocking right there.
I think Reese Bogue has memories of a couple of laps ago when Bradley Holly sent it to the inside. He said, you know what, I'm blocking off any chance of that happening with Daniel Knight. He's actually hurt himself a little bit, though, because Holly has gotten a run out of all of that. Are we about to see Bradley Holly go for a dive into turn 12? He's got to worry about Daniel Knight first and foremost here. Here we come, the heaviest braking zone on the track. Bogue on the outside, Holly to the inside. Knight's going to keep fighting it back, though, in that neon yellow number 17.
Some really good action between now 5 drivers involved in this battle.
Yeah, there's Regan on those fresh tires. He's going to make quick work of these guys.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be huge for Regan. He needs to get by these guys immediately, and this is not the best place to catch them.
He's going to be able to go around the outside of Bradley Holly here. I always love when we get these demonstrations of the difference between fresh tires and old tires.
Oh no, right in front of him.
Yeah, Daniel Knight about loses it. Danny Cervantes is going to follow Richard Regan Jr.'s lead here and come down. So while Richard is getting held up here, Danny's trying to take advantage, but here comes Regan to the inside through the final corner. Going to be quick work of Daniel Knight, and then he's got one more time, and this is going to be the easiest one of all, because that's his spotter, Reese Bogue, who is not going to put up too much of a fight to his team owner.
So sorry for my freak out there, but I thought Regan just completely got shafted.
Well, he's gotten through now, and now Daniel Knight gets shafted. He gets turned across the nose of Reese Bogue. There's been all sorts of drama and all sorts of contact in that pack, and it's finally come to blows as Knight goes around and Holly gets the top 5 from Reese Bogue.
Regan's just saying, thank you much, goodbye.
He's running away with this. Here's Daniel Knight just driving across the nose of Reese Bogue there. I don't know, was he deserved a little bit more room there? He dives it to the inside of turn 1. I don't know.
I'll tell you what. Acosta, and especially Diaz and White, they can't pit anymore. Because then they would be covered by Regan.
Yep, you're exactly right. About a 35-second pit delta. Acosta might come out just ahead of Regan, but Diaz and White can't as Reese Bogue goes for a 4-wheel lockup. Somehow that's possible in a car that only has brakes on 2 of the wheels, but Bogue pulled it off.
Hey, a 4-wheel lockup, brake magic.
He might just have brake magic, because I have no idea how he got that stopped. We are seeing feats of driving on old tires that I did not think were possible from Bogue and Holly.
Well, believe in it.
Now we got our 2 road course wizards here to show the effects of being able to save your tires. Elliott White and Michael Diaz battling for P2 now as they put another lap on Mr. Kerry Graves off the final corner. Can you tell there's a little bit of a difference in the tire safety of these 2 guys and Holly and Bogue?
Just a tad, my friend. Just a tad.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Look at that gap that is currently formed by Acosta. And I think that he is having his best life right now, even with that rear damage. Let's just replay.
Jeff Evans loops it around. It's the one thing that Holly and Bogue haven't done yet, but he goes for a full 360 and cooks those tires a little bit more. Here's Danny Cervantes around the outside. And Danny, remember, he is the second driver on those fresh tires. So that's going to be quick work for him, and he's going to look ahead to his new teammate, Reese Bogue, for another easy move in a couple of laps' time with a 6-second gap.
I do love road course racing. It's a lot of fun to watch the different skills, and sometimes, you don't want to call them dumb, but dumb mistakes, right, that happen over the course of a run. It's all about consistency. You're racing against yourself. I've said that multiple times, but you really are racing against yourself.
Yeah, trust me, I've made plenty of dumb mistakes in NASCAR on road courses as we see Danny Cervantes getting a little bit out of shape as we tune away. But White and Diaz, here is the battle for second. The 2 teammates a little bit out of touch with their teammate Abner Acosta, but still trying to take every point they can get. White on the inside in the Pink Panther entry. Michael Diaz in the Silver Fox. White a little bit late in the brakes. Diaz tries to cover it off. Diaz is going to hang on for the moment, but White's going to try and go for the switchback into the stadium section. Diaz on the inside. White switches it back. It's teammate on teammate for P2.
Teammate on teammate. Okay, let's see if they race each other cleanly. Very close to getting into the gearbox, the rear of that 27 machine. Or that 30 machine, I should say. This is some good racing as we switch to that mid-pack battle again, I believe.
Yep, we got good racing in a whole nother flavor here, where it's good racing with the mistakes kind of equalizing.
They look like Jolly Ranchers, I'm just saying.
They do. They look very, very delicious. Adam Zemke in the blue raspberry one got a little bit out of shape under braking there. He's gonna join the fray as well. I think we'll see some new paint schemes for both Knight and Zemke. I think they just need to re-upload their fresh paint schemes, so they might be a little bit less delicious, but for now, I'm enjoying the flavor. There's another big drift from Jeff Evans.
I'm having too much fun.
These guys are all business in the Precision Racing Esports paint schemes. Michael Diaz, there's a dive from White into turn 1. Diaz fought it back again, though. White's going to get very frustrated with his teammate for the moment.
Well, they're fighting for P2. I can't blame him, right?
No, can't blame him at all. Little bit drifty for Michael Diaz. We're starting to see some of the stuff that was happening deeper in the field. These guys are not immune to tire wear. Here comes Elliott White down the hill. He's as close as he's been to Michael Diaz. Does he go for a dive into turn 11? I think he's a little bit too far back. He's going to focus on the back straight here. Try and get another shot at his teammate, who has a little bit of a handbrake turn through turn 11. I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible either, but everything is good. Look at this speed. Look at this!
Acosta. That's Colton Lane up over turn 9, not able to get out of the way, and Acosta has a little bit of a scary moment and loses 1 second of his 10-second gap. But here comes Elliott White, locks it up a little bit, still scaring his teammate. Diaz is going to continue to hang on, and Elliott White's going to be thinking, what the heck do I have to do to get by this guy?
Some awesome racing between teammates, and once again getting on the throttle and kind of squeezing his teammate. That's Elliott White getting squeezed over the curbs. This is some great battling right here, and they can afford to do this because they are very much in front of Richard Regan.
Well, actually, if we do a little bit of math as these two try and battle through the final sector, 18 seconds back, there's still 5 laps left in the race, and Richard Regan Jr. was 4 seconds a lap faster than White and Diaz on that last lap. Now, they were side by side in the last laps. They did slow themselves down a little bit, but
and Regan's going to start to lose that tire. The tire wear is going to get worse for Regan as well, but 18 seconds, no matter what, is a lot to try and gain back.
Here is Regan on the bottom of your screen coming through the final sector. He's not that far back, but yeah, it's going to be difficult as Terry Radford parks it on the racing line coming into turn 1. Diaz does a good job of evading action there, but
I can't blame Terry there.
There's just some lap cars around who are adding a little bit of extra spice.
I think Terry did exactly what he was supposed to do. Be predictable, stay on the it's if you were not on the racing line there, you run the risk of potentially just spearing a guy going into turn 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Michael Diaz, I think, is just going to be a little bit scared by that. As Danny Cervantes has brought it down pit lane, I think he may have hit the instant limit. I don't think that was a legitimate stop. And Mark Kalin as well, his former teammate, I should say, gets a little bit out of shape into turn 12.
Look at that
Here
damage.
Comes Danny. Oh, yeah, that's not... well, that might be a drive-through because he's not getting the damage fixed, but that nose is noseless.
Voldemort.
Maybe.
Nose being noseless.
Nose being noseless. I try to minimize my my Harry Potter references, but good old Voldemort there, Danny Cervantes, and it's a white car as well, so it is fitting. But here comes Elliott White trying to again just force his teammate into a mistake, but he's not been able to. Michael Diaz has been rock solid here through turn 12, hangs on. It's going to take a lot more to force Diaz into a mistake.
I'm waiting for the moment those two clash, and then we can say about a cadaver.
We haven't said put in reverse Terry yet, because
haven't.
Even with a couple of scary moments, he's not quite been backwards yet. Diaz is trying his best to go backwards, though. Another big drift out of the stadium section. That's why Elliott White is keeping him within touch. It's been a great defensive drive for Michael Diaz. White does seem to be the faster of the two, though.
Yeah, absolutely seems to be faster, but it's so hard when you have a equally skilled teammate that you do not want to put in a bad spot. You got to race them fairly, which is going to cost you time. That time gap, that difference between Regan and White and Diaz is maybe a second or two better, as we're now seeing side by side. Elliott White going down the inside. I think this is going to be an easy move, especially using the lapped car as a bit of a pick. And while we're going to have a little bit of a swap back, easy does it for Elliott White.
Can he hang on this time is the question. He made that move once before. Diaz was able to fight it back. But now that White is on offense instead of defense, how does he take the S's for the first time without a car for perspective in front of him? Of course, he's figured it out, and he's already pulled about half a second over Diaz. We'll see if he can pull even further forward ahead, or if Diaz can fight back.
Well, they're taking the S's, but I think that Michael Diaz just took the L in that battle.
He definitely did. White, like I said, he's one of the tire wizards, just like Abner Acosta. It's going to be too big of a gap to make it up to the win, I think, unless there's a big mistake from Abner. But if you're taking the L to Elliott White, there could be far worse drivers to take an L on as Diaz tries to dive it, but said L no.
Oh, okay, that was a good one. How about we watch this battle right here between Daniel Knight and Reese Bogue? It's still just raging on through the night, even though it's daytime here in Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. You know, it's going to be like 80-something degrees in Austin this week.
That sounds that sounds very unpleasant. It's too early to be 80 degrees. It's only we're almost into spring, or we are officially into spring actually, because it was free Rita's water race day the other day. That's the only reason I know when spring starts. But it's too early to be 80 degrees.
And for all of y'all that don't know, it's water ice or water ice, however you want to say it. That's Italian ice. Definitely water ice.
Look at Danny Cervantes, though.
He's right there.
He's got his free Ritas in the tank, because even without a nose, he still has those fresh tires on, and he is going to blow by his new teammate, Reese Bogue. He's going to get hurt on the straight here. I think he's lost a little bit of straight line speed, but once we get into the braking zone, it is going to be an easy move for Danny Cervantes, who's been a Whataback driver for so many seasons.
He's going to try a double move.
Yeah, he's going to go for the double. But he's going to make contact with Knight. He's not going to lose it, though, because he's got the tires to fall back on, but that was a little bit of over-aggression from Danny Cervantes, who, like I said, used to be a Whataback driver, was a Whataback driver for so many seasons, but Regan Bogue Motorsports said, we need a third driver this season. Danny was the one who decided to take the offer there, and he's past the Bogue of Regan Bogue.
Yeah, goodness me. Abner Acosta has had a pretty brilliant race, especially after taking damage on the first corner. Has not really had to worry too much about anything except for maybe one small run-in with a lapped car. But I'll tell you what, there's a reason that the top three are all sporting that precision logo. They're fast, and they're precise.
And I'm not biased at all, because I got a message from Mr. Jerome Bertione, the head honcho of the PRL, that there may be a little bit of commentary perks based on a conversation that Arjuna and I had last night in terms of things to wear on the broadcast. So you might see that in the near future. But Danny Cervantes, noseless still, representing Jerry Seiner. I believe that's his new sponsor this season. I thought you were going
to say Jerry Seinfeld.
I wish it was Jerry Seinfeld. That'd be a great sponsor. If you're watching Jerry, we know he likes cars. How about comedians in cars doing the PRL? We'll do that next. But Terry Radford is the next car that Danny Cervantes has to lap here through the S's. Noseless Danny, nose full Terry, and they meet in the middle here up in turn 9.
And Terry's doing a good job of still running his line, but not getting in the way of that battle. It's uncomfortable here at COTA because there are so many rhythm lines that you've got to just get out of the way from. But how do you do that comfortably? You can't. Terry's done a good job, especially knowing that road course racing is not his forte, and he's kept it clean. That's the important thing.
That is the one thing you can do at the road courses. That's what we're going to have to wait for this weekend in the real life Xfinity Series. But there's a huge block for Reese Bogue again. That's been his favorite thing to do down the back straight, going Lance Stroll style there on Adam Zemke. Zemke has to back out of it, but Reese Bogue overcooks it into turn 12. And even with that block, I think the blue raspberry entry of Adam Zemke is a little bit stronger on the tires right now.
Just a tad. And I think that Zemke is going to chase him down and potentially get into the top 8. I think he's got a chance of... well, he's already in the top 8. He's got a chance of getting into the top 6 very easily. How about top 5? Holly's struggling a bit.
Yeah, Holly is definitely still going drift mode. We look a little bit further up, or all the way up front, rather, to Abner Acosta once again. This would be the perfect way to start his season with his teammate Elliott White, who showed him up last season. He beat the Tire Wizard at his own game on the ovals. They had a run-in at Spa on the road courses, which let Michael Diaz and Sean Campbell beat both of them. Abner also lost to Elliott White in the Sebring GT3 sprint race last night. So this is really him putting a one-up on his teammate. You know, there's a reason that I won both championships in the playoffs in the PRL last season. I'm Abner Acosta, and I'm the best driver on this team.
Are you?
Yes, I was Matt Gagnon first. Now I'm Abner Acosta.
Yeah, I was going to say. That's quite surprising. Well, it's nice to meet you, Abner. I can only think of Abner Doubleday when I hear Abner. You know.
Yeah, I've been waiting desperately to hope for that to happen. I mean, this season, he's racing on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights, so...
there you go.
There it is. There's Abner Doubleday.
There you go. And for anybody who doesn't know who Abner Doubleday is, pretty much the founder of baseball.
Yeah, I'm still a very, very casual fan of baseball. But Abner Doubleday, Van Lingel Mungo can't beat him. Reese Bogue has lost yet another spot, unfortunately. One more, and he'll be out of the top 10. Thomas Sink has gotten by him, who's probably at the quietest race of anybody. Reese Bogue is very, very quiet in the throttle through turn 11, though, because those tires are dead.
Yeah, nursing those tires as we begin the final lap of the race. Abner Acosta has just been almost perfect. I don't want to say completely perfect, but almost perfect. Putting even more time down, and on drivers such as Elliott White and Michael Diaz, I think we're easily going to see the top 3 be the top 3 as we see it now. Nice try from Richard Regan. He's 6 seconds back of Diaz of a podium spot. Just did not work out the way he wanted it to. He expected, but he's not going to lose any positions from the time he pit.
Exactly. That's the critical thing here. With Danny Cervantes following him on strategy, he was going to finish 4th either way, and he gets 4th for his efforts anyway. And he doesn't get the fastest lap of the race. He wasn't quite there, but he didn't lose anything.
And don't forget this: Cervantes was in 6th as well. So the strategy was really even in this race.
Abner Acosta's strategy of going as fast as humanly possible looks like it's going to win it. Let's see what happened to Mark Kalin as Bubbles the Wall Sponge had one more issue into turn 11. Yes, he has. Loops it around. Those good years are absolutely cooked. But here is Abner Acosta, just absolutely dominant today. From qualifying, from the race, he has just run away with this. 12 seconds over his teammate Elliott White. He's got to navigate one more lapped car as Reese Bogue has reached the incident limit on the final lap. That is tragic for Reese Bogue. Going to fall out of the top 10 here in his debut in the Xfinity Series. He'll be very, very happy, I think, to go road course racing once more in 1 week's time. But Abner Acosta making one more attempt at the lap traffic. That's Jacob Fifield up ahead, who probably wants Abner to lap him right now so he doesn't have to go around one more time. But Abner Acosta in the 5, showing up his Precision Racing Esports teammates. He was on the podium at Sebring last night in his return to GT3, and he is going to be your victor at COTA through the final corner for the 56th time in the PRL. The Tire Wizard gets it done. Abner Acosta wins COTA.
Just a fantastic race from Acosta. Nothing that he had to worry about once he got past this entire group. Elliott White crosses the line to finish 2nd. Michael Diaz rounding turn 20, the final corner, and he will finish in P3. That is your podium with Richard Regan really making it interesting at the end there.
There might be even more interesting with Bradley Holly and Danny Cervantes. Could Holly get that one extra, or could Cervantes rather get that one extra spot? He's got fresh tires. His former teammate is up ahead. They're on 2 separate teams now, so there's no reason to be nice. Can Danny Cervantes on those fresh tires without the nose? He's going to dive into the inside, but he drips it. Holly avoids him. A little bit too early of a move for Cervantes, getting a little bit overeager. Still going to get 6th for his efforts, though, but he saw P5 on the board, and he sent it.
A little bit more patience, and he has P5 locked up. I think he just downshifted too soon.
He certainly gets the Yeet of the Race award, so we'll give him an award for that, but he comes home P6 just ahead of Daniel
Wait, what
Knight.
did you just say?
The Yeet of the Race.
Do you know who I am?
Mr. Just Yeet It, of course.
Yes, there you go.
You're going to be the one giving it out.
I'm going to give out the Yeet of the Race. I love that. We need to make that a thing.
We will. We got the golden bowling ball, and we got the Yeet of the Race. As we're still waiting, I think, for a few stragglers. Charles Sumner is a driver who we haven't mentioned once in this race, but the guy who makes all this possible on the oval side in the PRL, doing a nice job himself bringing it across the line. You see Terry Radford there. He has crossed the line finally. 2 laps down at the end of it all with Matt Gagnon as well, so he's got some company there, but still waiting for a couple of stragglers.
You know, I would say it's there's a sense of pride when you do finish on the lead lap with drivers as good as these. Goodness, road course racers are some of the best drivers on this sim, especially when they're good in the stock car on road courses. Usually it doesn't really translate that well into oval racing, but in the real world, but you typically see a lot of drivers who are good at stock car road course racing also compete on the ovals.
Just waiting on Jacob Fifield here. Waiting on you, Jacob. Come on, bring us to the line here. But what a way to start the season. A very interesting way to start the season. At the only road course of the season, it's Abner Acosta who wins it all, though. It's a PRE 1-2-3. Acosta over his teammate Elliott White, over his teammate Michael Diaz. Regenboog Motorsports gets 4th with Richard Regan Jr., though. Bradley Holly comes home 5th after holding off the yeet from Danny Cervantes. Daniel Knight had a good race himself in 7th as well. Adam Zemke, P8. Thomas Sink and Jeff Evans make it Whataback 9 and 10. Respo got a penalty at the end after making a drift track of Coda. Nicholas Hunter, Austin Hunter's brother, comes home in P12 after a good race for him as well. Mike Knight, unlucky 13th, ahead of Charles Sumner, and Jacob Fifield was the last driver on the lead lap. Mark Kalin, Bubbles the Wall Sponge, did not find any walls, just found a few spins at turn 11. He still finished ahead of his teammate Jim Westerfield, though. And Jacob Emery was a little bit of a memory in P18 ahead of Colton Lane. Matt Gagnon brought it home with no rear bumper. Brought it home ahead of Terry Radford, though. Kerry Graves of Texas finishes 22nd, and the only DNF of the race was, unfortunately, Mr. Doug Evans, who, after kissing the Armco just barely, had a little bit more of an incident a little bit later. But on time now, our Precision Racing Esports drivers have actually decided to be on time this week, so we get to talk to our race winner, Abner Acosta, already. The tire wizard, as if a podium at Sebring wasn't good enough last week, you had to get the win here at Coda. Was it boring being 12 seconds ahead of the field?
No, I mean, the car's a handful. It was definitely fun, and I'd rather have them fake back there and 10 seconds back, because Elliott and Michael are pretty fast, so...
Well, we got our one road course of the season out of the way. 9 more weeks of oval racing. You still got your teammate Elliott White, who won the championship last season, with you. How do you think the rest of the season's going to go? Where are you most looking forward to? Where do you think you'll be strong?
I think I can't remember the schedule right now, but when I first looked at it, I thought I was strong at every track. I just gotta, like always, it's all about consistency. Just not using that drop week if possible, and kind of holding it as much as you can. I think that's essentially the key, and not making mistakes like I did last season.
Well, Mr. Tire Wizard, you've got it done for the first time this season. Congrats on the win, and we will see you on Tuesday night before we see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Abner Acosta gets it done. His teammate Elliott White, 2nd place last night, 2nd place tonight, and 2nd interview with Dylan Coyle.
Elliott White, what a fantastic run, a fantastic race. I felt like you could have had some speed for Abner in the midway point of that race, but it seemed like you were just trying to race hard but race fair with your teammate and Michael Diaz.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really had anything for Abner. He definitely had, I think, the pace advantage over me, at least in the first few laps of his stint, and I just think we were so far behind anyways. I don't think it would have made too much of a difference, but fighting with Michael was really fun. It's always fun to race against my teammates, but yeah, I think Abner was just that much better than us today.
Do you feel like racing, opening the season on a road course, could maybe confuse what we're going to see for the rest of the field in standings going forward?
Yeah, it could. I know, me, Abner, Michael, we have a lot of experience with road course stuff, and that's not to say that the rest of the guys aren't good drivers, but I mean, I'm sure the competition level will be a lot higher on the ovals, especially I think I'm not very good at short track racing, so Richmond, Martinsville, I mean, that'll be pretty tough, I think, for me. I bet Brad will be strong, and the other What About guys as well. I know Richard's going to be strong too.
All right, well, thank you very much, Elliot. Best of luck going forward.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the broadcast as always.
Of course. Joey?
One more time here for Precision Racing Esports. It's a 1-2-3 on the road course. Surprise, surprise. And Michael Diaz comes home in third as well. That was a pretty epic battle with your teammate there, Mike. Elliot White certainly put up a fight.
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, it was really fun. In the end, he got me. I had no tires, but during the battle, it was fun, clean. So I think then we decided to stop because Richard was catching us. So, and then since he had the pace advantage, just go ahead.
So this season, if my memory serves me correctly, this is the only series you're signed up for this season. So are you going to put more of a focus on the oval side this season and try and fight for this championship over the course of the whole season?
Well, all the other shows went open setup, and I don't really have time to mess with setups. That's why I'm just racing this 6 series. I don't know, man. I'm not that good at oval. I'm trying to learn. I'm learning as I go, and I don't own most of the tracks, so I don't really know any of them. But yeah, I'll try my best and just hope to have fun with the guys.
It certainly looked like it was fun out there today. Congrats on the podium to start the season, and we will see you at the first oval of the season next week.
Yeah, guys, it's probably the only time I'm going to talk to you this season, most likely, so...
you got a top 3 at an oval last season, Chicagoland.
That was lucky. But yeah, anyways, thanks guys for the broadcast and supporting us every race and all that, so yeah, have a good night.
Always a pleasure, and I'm booking it right now. We will talk to Michael Diaz again this season. I bet it happens at least once, Dylan.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen at least once. How about a couple times? I mean, this series is one that's going to, I think, surprise some people. It sets off the whole balance for the rest of the schedule when you're not going to be racing on this type of track going forward for the rest of the upcoming 9 races. And while drivers are going to get used to that, it changes in variations so much. There's not that many cookie-cutter tracks that they're going to have to worry about, right? So we were talking about for the Truck Series, and now we bring up the Xfinity Series schedule. They go right to a 3/4 mile track, which is going to be difficult in Richmond, and then Kentucky is completely different. And it's a track that not many drivers have driven on very recently because it's not a real-life NASCAR track anymore. So definitely a lot of fun. Richmond Raceway coming up next. And Under the Lights.
Same time, same place here on Race Spot TV. The Wednesday nights doubleheaders will return. But for now, what a night we've had. What a way to open the season. Getting the one road course out of the way early. Brett Karakoff comes home in the trucks to win his first race in the PRL. And on the other hand, Abner Acosta comes home to win his 56th race in the PRL. But we thank you for joining us here tonight. We hope you've enjoyed both of those races. This is not the only night of PRL action here on RaceSpot TV, because tomorrow night you'll have Terry Radford in the booth for the IRO 4s and F3 series. On Sundays, it's the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. On Mondays, it's the Production Car Challenge with the MX-5 and GR86 and the GT4 series. On Tuesdays, it's the GT3 doubleheader. And of course, on Wednesdays, it's the PRL NASCAR Truck and Xfinity series. But for now, I've been Joey Tebben. Dylan Coyle's been Dylan Coyle. Our producer has been Arjuna Kankapati. See you next time. So long.